I have hit the live button. We should be live. Welcome everyone, this is Andres Restart, and we are doing the typical weekly restart. I'm joined by my good friend Brandon, and we're talking about Nintendo tonight. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Doing good.
Good. Good. I am glad that you're doing good. So, the plan for the evening is to talk about more Tears of the Kingdom. And even though Nintendo gave us the final trailer, we got more footage. It keeps coming.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, so every few days there's a little bit more footage that comes out in an ad or something. And there was actually an ad that leaked, I want to say as like a week ago or maybe a little bit over a week ago. I think it was a week and a half ago that it leaked. And we were live streaming, and you guys were like, oh, like, play it. And I was like, nah, don't play it. I'm not gonna, I was thinking I shouldn't play it. Yeah. And then sure enough,
just sent on us.
Yeah, it would have been bad, because sure enough, a lot of people made the mistake of playing it, not during just a live stream, but like actual videos, and their videos got taken down. So I made the right call on the fly to not play that when we live streamed that about 10 or so days ago, I think. But it's now officially been released. We can talk about it in detail without worries. We can analyze it. There will be a dedicated analysis for this releasing tomorrow. But yes, we're going to be focused on talking about this Tears of the Kingdom footage, also other bits of footage as well, and just general theories about the Zelda, and maybe even some previews potentially coming out really soon. We're hearing that they're may be coming out fairly soon. So lots of Zelda talk tonight. As usual, it's going to be the bulk of the discussion. However, we also have a few other pretty interesting topics to talk about tonight. For example, we got a new Xenoblade release about to drop. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed. It's releasing tomorrow.
That it is.
Yeah, and you know, Brandon, I was actually kind of like surprised. I was on my Switch last night, and I was playing Advance Wars, actually, which is also the third topic for tonight. We're going to be talking about Advance Wars. I've been playing it over the weekend. I'll give you my thoughts on it for a bit. But also, with Future Redeemed, what was interesting is that I was like, oh, man, I'm going to have to buy Advance Wars and Future Redeemed tonight. But what I forgot is that when I picked up Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I already knew there was going to be an epic expansion story. I knew whatever it was going to be worth the 30 plus bucks. So I just spent the entire 90 some dollars when I bought Xenoblade Chronicles 3 last year. So when I was playing Advance Wars last night, I saw my Switch give me a notification, hey, your downloadable content is already downloaded on and ready for play once it's available. And I was like, oh, sweet, I don't have to buy it.
Nice.
I forgot that I bought it, so it felt like I just...
It's $30 though?
Something like that, 30, 35 bucks. I haven't checked in a bit. Well, we can find out right now, actually.
I guess because you have to buy all of the waves. You can't just buy...
Xenoblade Chronicle... Yeah, but it's the one that matters.
Yeah.
Expansion Pass... Price... I mean, if I just search this, I should see it on Nintendo's website. It's 30 bucks. Whole thing's 30 bucks.
Not bad.
No. And I mean, there's extra. I mean, they add extra heroes and there's a challenge mode and stuff like that. And those heroes have little additional quests, right? So that's all like the waves 1 through 3. And without thinking on it, I actually played with the DLC costumes for a fair bit throughout my adventure. So yeah, but the entire expansion pass is $30, and I'm pretty sure Future Redeemed is gonna feel worth 30. Like Wave 4, if you exclude waves 1 through 3, it's gonna feel worth the 30 bucks. Like this is a Xenoblade adventure. It's gonna feel like maybe half of a Xenoblade adventure, hence why it would be worth 30 bucks. So
I forget how much was Torna. Because I bought that at the time. I bought the standalone.
You gotta stop asking me these tough questions, dude. Now
I'm just trying to remember, because I do feel like Torna was worth the money. I think it was
looking up the price for this one.
Like 40.
It's an interesting thing. Yeah, if you buy it separately, it's $40. That makes me wonder But how much is the expansion pass? Huh.
I believe it was more if you got the physical version, though.
Yeah, I think it is. Xenoblade 2 expansion pass. Like, oh yeah, so that is interesting. So the physical version is worth $40, but the entire expansion pass of Xenoblade 2 is $30, which comes with more content technically. That's interesting.
I mean, you are paying for a physical item. That's
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. It's you're basically you're paying for like the collector's fee, right? It's like a collector's item, and that's why it's $40. Because you don't need to do that. It's DLC that they embellished into a physical release. So, yeah. But anyway, we're going to be talking about that as well. Just the whole entire future redeems scenario. Is it going to be longer? Is it going to be cool? Some of our theories on Xenoblade. So yeah, this is going to be a big Zelda discussion night. It's also going to be a big Xenoblade discussion night. So
let's go.
Get your hype hats ready. Now, let me see here. Let's just check in with the chat. Catch up with the chat and answer some questions for a few minutes, and then we'll talk about for advancers for a bit, and then we'll go over the Zelda news. Then we'll talk about the Xenoblade stuff, and then we'll do some more Zelda speculation afterwards, and then we'll do our call-in segment at 9. That's about an hour and 45 from now. All right. So, Dark Shadow Rage, 17 days to go. Hype train is picking up speed. Let's go. That's right. We are just 2.5 weeks away.
2.5 weeks, wow.
From the release of Tears of the Kingdom. It's coming, guys. It is coming. I see we have about 100-ish people watching. If you guys could like the stream, that'd be super helpful. If we get to 100 likes pretty soon, that would definitely help out the show. So please do so. I would very much appreciate it. Let's see here. AB James, 17 cards going across top row in that shot. Yeah. So on the thumbnail, you may notice there's a lot of hearts there. We'll be talking about that in a moment. Kieran Buckley, we've been playing a lot of Advanced Wars. It's really good, but it's probably should have been cheaper, and a demo might have helped with interest. A demo might have been good. A demo might have been a good idea. Yeah, I am enjoying the game very much, though. It's pretty good. By the way,
full $60?
Yes, it is.
Oh.
Kieran,
2 games.
Do I pronounce your last name Buckley or Buckley? Let me know. My 6th name change. The new ad looks awesome. It made it seem as if the underground would be like a whole new world. An underworld. I think that's because it is.
It's going to be a pretty significant size underground for sure.
My 6th name change. Has this podcast been running for 4 years? I think so.
I think it's been longer than that. I think it's been like 5, 6 years.
Yeah.
Feels like at least.
Yeah. Yep. Joycey J, hello. I'm glad you got us in the background. Harry Myers, hello there. Good evening, Charles Trudell. So are Sun. Only thing I'm sad about from the video was Korok puzzles are back. I did see that circle of rocks. I saw that. But
like basic ones.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
We saw hints of. I just mean basic ones because we saw hints of like more deeper Korok side quests in some of the other gameplay.
There's some stuff. We'll get to that in a bit. Let's see here. Gerald Toki, are the TV backlights new? I did change them, so they're a little bit brighter now. I think it looks better. Unless that's just me. If they don't look better, let me know. I'll reconsider. Maybe just dim them a bit. Hi vibes. Nintendo Japan comments in the Switch 4 stream with Nintendo Prime whilst we were theorizing saying, hi, how are you? What?
That was a sentence, but I didn't understand.
I think what High Vibes is saying is that there was a stream with Nintendo Talk, Nintendo Prime, and Switch Force, and that apparently during the stream, Nintendo of Japan dropped a comment in the chat saying, "Hi, how are you?" My immediate thought is that was not actually Nintendo of Japan.
Yeah.
That was just someone who made their channel seem like Nintendo of Japan. Because you can change the name and the logo of your channel to be pretty convincing.
Yeah, I mean, you can literally change it to be, like, I think the exact same. At least for the profile pic you can. I think the name that you might have to make it slightly different. But you can make it, like, super close.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, even when I used to stream, people would fake different accounts for, like, the president of Nintendo and stuff.
Yeah. D Fox added me. I just beat Metroid Samus Returns last night. Ooh, it's a good game. That's a good game. Joe6831. You should do a new Ganon theory about the final battle being at negative 9,999 on the Z-axis, or complete opposite of your the complete opposite of my moon theory.
Center of the Earth theory.
Center of the Earth theory. Let's go. Yeah. Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. I'm all for it. It's a cool idea. I mean, I think that it has good merit as well. The final fight taking place close to the center of the Earth. Like, I totally get that. So I wanted to run something by you guys. Just kind of curious on how you guys feel about this thing I may or may not do. Because I've been doing kind of daily videos pretty much, and then the occasional live stream. And if there's something crazy comes up, I might do a bonus video. But it's very, very once in a while that there's a second video release. But as you know, as a lot of you know, I'm trying to do this full time, right? But I also don't want to overload. But I've seen there are other gaming news channels out there that'll put a dozen videos in a day. So I guess what I'm kind of curious on, if I did this thing where there'll still be kind of the typical daily video, that won't really change. But let's say, for example, Joe6831, he has this interesting question about, what if I did a Ganon theory? What if I had it's not something I would think on my own, but what if you guys had questions for me, and I still answer them during live chats, but what if occasionally I'll take a question. If you guys say send me a message on Twitter or Discord, and I turn that into kind of just a quick 4 or 5 minute take, and that's a second sort of video that comes out in a day. Because my kind of plan is once Tears of the Kingdom comes out, we're still going to talk about Nintendo news. There's still going to be theory videos, including about Tears of the Kingdom. The same way there were theory videos that came out after Breath of the Wild, there will be theory videos coming out after Tears of the Kingdom. But I'm also going to be doing a lot of how-to videos, how to beat a Gleeok, right? Or, what is a weakness? Or, there's going to be more tips videos like that, and to do different tricks. But maybe not every day. So I guess what I'm kind of thinking is, what if there were, there's a bigger video, but there's a smaller kind of bonus video thing? Would that bother people? Would that be kind of a fun thing to do? And yeah, I mean, basically it'll be a way to kind of if you guys want to make content, if you had ideas for me to make videos on, if you send me questions, maybe I could have a little video coming out, not every day, but with some frequency. And I'm hey, I'll sit down for 4 or 5 minutes on camera. I'll be hey, so such and such asked me this question, or they had this idea, and here are my thoughts on it. Something like that. So if that seems like something that, you guys would like or would be annoying, just let me know. I'm just kind of floating the idea out there.
Could we do a poll?
We could do a poll. We could do a poll. I think the thing is, I'm scared if I do a poll, I'll be afraid of the answer. Let's see here.
Never fear the truth, Andres.
That's good. Never fear the truth. Would you all like it if there was a second shorter video per day that is either a tips video or a community question. I don't even know how to write this down in a single sentence.
User suggested, I guess. Viewer suggested.
Yeah, there would still be the videos, the longer videos would still come. That would still be the main thing for the day, but there might be like a second thing.
It's like extra stuff.
Yeah. I'll just say, how do we feel? Okay, how do we feel about daily bonus videos that are... I don't know how to write this in a sentence.
Which part?
Daily bonus videos where with community suggested topics.
Yeah, you could add short form to that as well. Like short form video.
Daily short. Shorter.
Short form, shorter, either of those.
This doesn't take away from the long form videos.
Yeah.
Yes, as long as there is still... Yes, or I'll just put yes or no. Okay, I'm just asking a question. I probably did it wrong. How do what I see? I press send without even reading it.
I think people have enough context from listen to us talk about. They'll understand.
Yeah, hopefully, unless other people come in.
I'm not gonna vote on this. I'm always tempted
You're
to
biased.
vote in the polls.
You're biased.
Usually, well, yeah.
So, but what I asked, I'm gonna read it out loud. How do we feel about daily bonus short form videos with community suggested topics? I think that's fine. And I put bonus. Like bonus suggested it is extra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. Cool.
Oh, you should have put another button that was just... I always love it when people do polls and they have one option that's just see results.
You can see the results. You can see the results regardless, I think. Well, I can, but...
I can't because I haven't voted.
Okay, well, then maybe you can. Well, anyways, while that's going, let me check the chat real quick, and let's move on to our actual topics.
Cool.
Samuel A., what do you think of Tears of the Kingdom will score on Metacritic? I think it does the exact same as Breath of the Wild, 97. Like, see, like, that's a bit like a question right there that I could be like, oh, Samuel A. asked on Sunday this, and here's kind of like, my thoughts on that, and I do a little bit more research for it.
I think it will score lower critically. Not because it's not going to be just as good or better, but just because Breath of the Wild was such a unique experience at the time that I think it will rate lower just because it's not going to be as a wholly changing concept for the series as Breath of the Wild was. Whether it deserves that or not, I won't say, but typically that's kind of how the trend goes.
It's tough. I think I'm biased. Because I always want Nintendo to improve, right? So
right.
Inevitably, if Tears of the Kingdom doesn't match or exceed the Metacritic score of Breath of the Wild, I am going to be disappointed. Like that is it will be a minimal disappointment because I'll be like, oh well, I mean this is just what it is. It doesn't really change much.
Score.
Right.
It's not like it's
the
be all end all of how
good
the game is.
Exactly, and how you choose how you feel about a game, that's how you feel about the game. And I mean that said, Breath of the Wild is also the highest rated game on Switch. So that's a tall task to challenge. Yeah,
I'm specifically talking about critic scores as well. User score, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
We'll
tough.
see.
Yeah.
I imagine there's going to be a lot of people who are just whining about it being too similar to Breath of the Wild. So I do kind of feel like the user score might be lower just because salty trolls.
I can't give an answer because I think there's definitely a chance that it actually could perform better than Breath of the Wild. But part of the challenge is that while it may objectively do everything that Breath of the Wild did and more so and better, and any sort of critique people had on Breath of the Wild, if Nintendo literally addresses every critique or criticism, all the common criticisms about Breath of the Wild, then Tears of the Kingdom, adds new exciting things on top of that, makes the game bigger, better, more polished, performs better visually, by every known metric, if it does better in every category, it still might not review higher than Breath of the Wild.
Right.
And that's because people have opinions, and whatever someone says, it doesn't mean it's just what someone thinks at the time, but also our standards have changed. When Breath of the Wild came in, it was this big, exciting thing. There was a shock factor there because it was such a huge, monumental leap for Nintendo. And also, not even just for Nintendo, for the world, really. Like, Breath of the Wild kind of changed our perspective on what an open world game could be. So, while Tears of the Kingdom may evolve upon that in ways that I think, I have a feeling there's going to be some crazy things they're going to do. I think I don't want to say that it's not going to beat Breath of the Wild, but what I am going to say is that the odds of it beating Breath of the Wild, because of our changed standards and because Breath of the Wild already set that precedent, even if it improves upon it by every known metric, it is unlikely that it will beat Breath of the Wild in terms of Metacritic.
I mean, Breath of the Wild has a 97, right?
Yes.
That's just an insane score to beat in general.
Yes, exactly. But I'm going to say this. I think it's going to at least score a 95 on Metacritic.
Oh, wow. Great minds think alike. I was about to say, I think it will probably get at least a 95. Like, it's going to be close.
Yeah.
It's gonna be, if it is lower, it's gonna be just like a point or two.
I think it's gonna be the highest rated game on Switch this year. I've seen discussion that maybe Metroid Prime Remastered would be the highest rated game on Switch this year, and I love Metroid Prime. Metroid Prime's one of my favorite. It's a 94 on Metacritic, the Switch version. Yeah, on the original GameCube release was a 98, which kind of goes back to our point though, like. Even though Metroid Prime's like a masterpiece, 20 years ago it was like the craziest thing ever.
Right.
Now it's still amazing.
Is it an objectively better version got a lower score?
Yes. Exactly, because our standards change. It's that simple. So probably not beating Breath of the Wild, but there's a chance, and we think it'll at least be close, likely 95 or higher. Yeah. All right, high vibes. I checked, and the channel had a think, and I think it was the official Nintendo Japan. It was kind of creepy because of the timing. Yeah, I don't know. High vibes. If it is Nintendo Japan, that would be insane.
I was like a rogue employee. Does Nintendo Japan just go around to people's live chats?
I've never heard of that before. Never heard of that before.
Does it sound real?
It's tough to say. Oh, look, Rigo Romero has renewed their membership. They've been a member for 6 months. Glad you've been sticking around, Rigo. Super, super appreciated. Let's see here. We have a super chat. Taker610 with the super chat a few minutes ago. Thank you for the super chat, Taker. Was Nintendo hiding about Yunubo? Did he turn? There's actually a planned video topic for potentially later this week. I think
thought about that, about him turning to the dark side.
That would be interesting. I don't think he's gone evil. We
That
know
would
there's
something would have to go down. Some serious
yeah,
stuff would have to go down for
yeah.
him to turn evil. He was such a timid, nice person
Yeah,
before
there
he
had to be quite a bit of character growth and change and
person Goron.
deteriorate. This would be nuts. But there's something to that idea. First, I'll say we know there's someone holding the Goron weapon in the trailer because we
Right.
see a few frames of that. They just don't show who the character is. My belief it's simply that it's been a few years. In Breath of the Wild, Yunubo is considered to be a Goron youth, and the same way both Tulin and Riju look to be a few years older. I think Yunubo, even though he was big, it's just because he's a Goron, he was still young, a youth, not fully mature. He's going to be a more mature Goron, so he's going to be a little bit more muscular, he's going to have more of a burly beard. He didn't have a beard at all, actually, in Breath of the Wild. So I think he's just going to have a glow up. That's my belief. He's gonna have a bit of a character growth. He's gonna be more confident, more of a warrior. He's gonna look.
Yeah.
He's gonna be like a Chad. He's gonna be pretty cool. That's what I think is going on with him.
Do you think they didn't show him off because they didn't want to show how like long it had been? Like, why not?
Listen,
Why
man.
only him?
Listen, man.
Because the other characters, it is very hard to tell. Like, has it been a year, a couple months, a couple years? It's hard to say from looking at them. But if Yunobo's like radically changed design, maybe they don't want to imply that it's been like a few years.
So
Because that's the only thing I can think of, and that doesn't even sound like a big deal.
Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, like, for example, what if there's a cutscene in the game where you're attacked by someone or greeted by someone, you're not sure who it is at first? If they show who Yunubo is in the trailer, that can kind of take a little bit away from that. So I think that could be tied to it. I think it could be tied to just wanting to have some level of surprise. But the Taker's idea about maybe him turning, and by turning, I think he's suggesting like going bad in some way, working with Ganon in some way. While I can't think of a time there have been any evil Gorons, in Twilight Princess, the Gorons were a bit of an opposition at first. And actually, I'm now thinking there may have been a couple 2D Zeldas where they were a bit of a problem. Oh, well, the Zoras were, but in some of the 2D Zeldas.
The River Zoras.
The River Zoras, yes. But anyways, with the Gorons in Twilight Princess, there was a little bit of an opposition because they were afraid of outsiders. There was things going on, and it was all tied to the curse that was on their chieftain. So
Right.
it's possible something similar could happen this time around. Maybe something happened to the Chief Goron or to the Gorons in general, so they've kind of closed off their village to outsiders, so they're being very protective and maybe even aggressive in order to, well, defend themselves against whatever unknown threat there may be. So it could be related to that. And that scene where we see what looks to be a Goron attacking Link, because we see the famous Goron rollout, but it's like powered up with fire. Like, that could be Link dueling a Goron for whatever reason. Maybe to earn pride. Maybe Link has to prove himself. Maybe the Goron has to prove himself if he's Yunubo, considering how kind of timid he was. Or it could be related to them wanting to kind of keep people away because of the threat. They've gone very defensive. So maybe it's a callback to Twilight Princess. I don't think they're evil, though.
If they had those wrestling matches again, I love the part of Twilight Princess.
Yeah, that was really cool.
I wish there was just a mode in Twilight Princess where you could just do that constantly and earn like rupees or something.
Yeah, that would be epic. It would be truly epic. Let's see. I'm gonna get to a couple lats and then we're gonna jump into the topic. Charles Chanel, Brandon, 95 is Majora's Mask. Did Majora's Mask get a 95 on Metacritic? That's crazy.
Dang.
Javier Vasquez, expectations are too high to meet the critic standards. Javier, I think it'll rate a 97.5. That would be amazing. Nintendo is definitely going to get a lower score than it deserves. That could be.
Maybe.
Yeah, Lethal Lawn. I won't care if it's rated higher or lower. I'm going to enjoy this game, and that's all that matters to me. Well said.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't
Well said.
actually care about Metacritic scores in general. It's just
Yeah.
something interesting to look at.
Yes. Gold Liger. Well, at least Xenoblade 3 story DLC is coming out in an hour and a half to keep us busy for the rest of the time remaining. That will keep us busy, indeed. Giancarlo. In the Gleeok part, Link has 17 hearts in the first row, meaning Tears of the Kingdom will have a much longer campaign than Breath of the Wild, since it has 30 hearts. I think that is the implication. And we don't know if the row ends at 17. It could potentially go more. The other consideration, though, is they've changed the UI, and maybe Link has less hearts now, but can get to like 15 or something. I think you're probably right, though. I think the obvious implication is that we can get more hearts in Tears of the Kingdom, which...
Do you like that, though? I didn't really even enjoy having like 30 hearts. I felt like it was just too much health at that point. It just made me felt really tanky, which, I mean, the enemies were as well, but I didn't like that either. The whole gameplay loop kind of just slowed down for me when the enemies had way too much health, and then you also have way too much health, and then you have like a million foods that can also give you like even more hearts. So you have like all these hearts, and then you have some food that gives you like 12 more golden hearts on top of that. It just felt like a lot. And having even more potentially now, I don't really... It's not like a huge deal, but it does not excite me.
Yeah, I don't really see it that way, Brandon. But the thing is, it depends on what they do with the game. If we have more hearts, I think that could be cool because it's more to collect something, and the reason we may have more hearts is because there's more things that threaten us. If we may need more hearts because it may be harder. So
yeah, I mean, if they balance the game, to make the enemies harder, because before, when they would like up the difficulty, it was pretty much just, ooh, there's a new color variant, and that one has more health, and typically carries better weapons. But they didn't really change the enemies too much to make them actually like smarter, and there weren't really a lot of enemy variety. So the chances of you fighting like an enemy that had a new pattern to its fighting, or like just was harder in general, was very low.
yeah.
So I do feel like we're seeing a lot more variety now in the enemies, and even the overworld bosses like the Flame Gleeok and stuff that we're going to talk about.
Hey, sorry to interrupt you, Brandon. Paint Fat Purple saying that he has headphones on, he can barely hear you. I have you maxed out on Discord. Guys, are you guys having a hard time hearing Brandon? I don't know if there's something you can do to adjust the volume a little bit.
I can turn the microphone up.
Maybe turn it up a little bit. Yeah, let me know if Brandon is not loud enough. If we need to raise his volume, guys. I always saw Paint Fat Purple see it, so I'm just.
Is that louder?
No, they say you sound fine. So, I mean.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Some people are saying it's low, but raising it a little bit I think would help. So if you raise it a little bit.
I think I raised it.
Okay. All right, so
I raised it from 50 to 70. Is that louder?
You are louder now. All right, so just continue on with your point.
Is this too loud?
I don't think so.
Okay, I raised it a little bit more. I'm just gonna leave it at 80. We'll see how that is.
Yeah. So hopefully that sounds better. But Brandon, finish your point.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, we can see a lot more enemy variety now, and we're seeing like big, very threatening enemies like the Flame Gleeok. So yeah, maybe we do need more health. Maybe the Flame Gleeok's just something that, unless you have like 20 hearts, you're just gonna, almost have no chance because it does so much damage.
Yeah. The other thing is that if we don't have Mipha's Grace, that's gonna make a big difference.
That is true.
Yeah, I would
kind of broken.
I would intentionally let myself get killed just to have max hearts because of Mipha's Grace. So, and it recharges. So
yeah, it recharges.
It's crazy. It's totally crazy.
And you can get an upgrade. I think you can upgrade it to charge faster, can't you?
I don't remember how, but yes. Yeah. It looks like everyone's is appreciating your audio fix now, so they're
nice.
saying it's fine. Yeah, thank you guys. If there are any issues, please let me know. So we got another super chat here from BRX Arthartic. Yes, BRX Arthartic. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. I'm excited for Tears of the Kingdom, but I'm also ready for its shadow to move on so we can see what Nintendo's planning next. Yes. Yeah. I mean, this channel, we always talk about what's beyond, right? We always do.
Oh, yeah.
And while I've definitely been focused on Tears of the Kingdom, I've tried to make sure to at least put out a few videos here and there. Like, hey, look, there's something beyond this. We don't know what it is.
The Kingdom is not the final station on the Nintendo hype train.
It's an infinite train of hype. So,
yeah,
it just keeps going. Yeah, so this is not a dedicated topic, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I do think that there is a lot that could... There has to be a lot beyond Tears of the Kingdom. The question is what... Now, there may be a bit of a gap. We don't know what that is, but when you think about how Nintendo has pushed out Future Connected, which we'll talk about a little bit later tonight, in April, right next to Advance Wars, it makes you wonder, like, why are they shoving out all this content? Like, they could have spaced that out a bit. All the Fire Emblem DLC could have been spaced out. It's not. It's all done already. It's very curious, I think, where we're at right now. So, and also going back to February, they pushed out Metroid Prime and Kirby in the same week. Like, it just kind of feels like they're getting everything out so quickly, and I definitely am curious on what that's about. I don't want to really focus on too many rumors, because I just don't have enough reason lately, to believe the rumors as of late.
Right. It's not an overwhelming amount of evidence or anything.
Yes, so I don't want to jump the bandwagon and say... I mean, we've talked about it. Like, I've already made videos talking about this, so, like, I'm not trying to backtrack. I think it's absolutely an interesting conversation. It's absolutely on my mind. But
oh yeah.
While I think there is a window of opportunity for us to see a Switch 2 announcement this year, I don't want to jump on that yet until we have more evidence. But I definitely think there is a direct happening in June. I think there is going to be there's going to be several announcements that come in June. If it's not a direct, there's still going to be several announcements that happen in June, because we have nothing beyond Pikmin 4. We don't even have Xenoblade anymore, which is it's one less thing to...
We got one wave of Mario Kart DLC.
We got two, actually. Got waves 5 and 6.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, we're at the pace we're at. I mean, we got to be getting close to a Wave 5 announcement. So, that's running out too. And the Pokemon DLC is not coming out to the holiday. So, what do we get in between?
Yeah,
we got Splatoon
June's kind of
DLC.
open as well, because isn't Pikmin coming out in July?
Yeah.
So what is even coming out in June?
If anything.
Really.
I speculate there'll be a shadow drop of something, and it'll be announced during a direct. Maybe Metroid Prime 2.
Ooh, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. All right, Samuel with another super chat. Thank you, Samuel. Just want to say that it's awesome tuning into the podcast every week. However tough life may get, I'll bet on tuning in and having fun with speculation. Well, thank you for the super chat. I'm glad that you enjoyed the podcast. We enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
We were talking about earlier that the show's been going on for a few years, right? This is something we've been doing consistently for a long time, and we're glad that you guys have enjoyed the ride, and we don't really intend on stopping. So,
nope.
Yeah.
This hype train is keep on going as well.
The Infinity Train. We're going to eternity and beyond. All right, last question in the chat before we jump to the next topic. Jean-Carl asks me, could the reason Nintendo's moving so much DLC closer because the Switch accessory reveal and release is imminent? It could be the reason, but as I said earlier, I don't want to assume that until we have more evidence. Definitely want to talk. I'm okay with talking about it because I already have, and I'd be a hypocrite otherwise.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of one of those things where I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just simply saying that I'm not ready to say for sure it's happening. I'm not ready to predict it or anything.
We're waiting for more evidence.
That's pretty much it. And the thing is, if it's gonna happen, that evidence is gonna come. So, yeah. But all right, before we jump, I want to analyze the ad for Tears of the Kingdom. Before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about Advance Wars. A few minutes here.
Cool.
So, got my hands on the game. Not a review copy. I bought it with my own money. But I'm enjoying it. It's a good game. You get Advance Wars 1 and 2. It's 2 games fully ground up, remade. It has entirely reworked visuals. There are 3D environments for the battles. There's voice acting. The character, like the actual character dialogue. It's animated. It looks cool. It looks 2D but 3D at the same time. It's a very interesting anime style. The game has HD rumble, so you actually can feel like the blast from one side to the other screen. Like you'll feel it on one side of your controller, and then you'll feel on the other side of your controller when the other side is hit. It feels nice, and the game's very snappy. The UI feels really good. I'm excited for this because I didn't play Advance Wars 1 and 2 on Game Boy Advance. I played Dual Strike on the DS. So having a chance to play these games in a modern way is very exciting. And it's a good release. So if you like strategy games, I definitely recommend it. Brandon, you haven't mentioned to me that you've picked it up, so I'm assuming you haven't. But
I have not.
Is there anything about the game that you're curious on? Do you have any questions on that maybe I could answer?
I've seen some controversy that I didn't realize was a thing before I started seeing reviews and people talking about the game.
Okay.
But apparently, a lot of people think the game does not look good visually. Or at least doesn't look as good as it could. And a lot of people are also upset just the fact that the visual style doesn't kind of emulate the pixel art in the way that they were hoping. It's a little bit more toy-like, whereas the original art was. I can see why they did the kind of toy model aspect, but it is very different from the original art, which is a bit more grounded. Not completely, it's still very over the top, but it's less toy model like. And some people don't like that, so
Hold on.
I can understand.
My brother just walked on screen on. I'm realize I'm live, right? You're on camera. That's creepy. That's creepy.
Yo,
people are gonna see that and be like, well, there's a man in your room. What were you
I'm
thinking?
just about to get murdered.
Don't close the door. Just leave it cracked open. He just walked away. All right, that's my brother. Yeah.
Doing the creeper stance.
Anyway.
But yeah, a lot of people think that the style is not good. I kind of think it still looks good, but I think they could have gone with a style that was more similar to the original, and also it overall looks decent, but it definitely doesn't look like it's really taking advantage of Switch hardware. It just looks good enough, I think.
Yeah, I don't really. I
think some places also look much better than others.
Maybe I'm just
some
not
environments look
yeah.
better.
Maybe I'm just not as picky. That could have something to do with it, but I don't really. I think it's fine. It's not meant to be. I guess what were people? I mean, I understand that the vehicles look very kind of toy-like, and they kind of have the stage on a box, and it's almost like a toy box on a
It's
map
like a
or
game
table
board almost.
Yeah, like a game board.
Which I think is really cool.
I don't really mind it, and you don't really notice it unless you're kind of looking for it. From me, I don't have a problem with the visual style, but I guess it just kind of comes down to how nitpicky you are about that. For some people, they may have wanted more out of it. I'm not bothered by it at all. I'll say I don't love seeing the characters kind of do the little hop on the cities to when you claim a city. Like, I'm not saying I'm against the mechanic. I'm okay with the mechanic, but if we're gonna be nitpicky about the visuals, like, there's nothing spectacular about seeing that. What could they have done differently? I don't know. Honestly, I think it's just too nitpicky to really have a significant conversation on. That's my take on it. I think the visuals are nice. I think the UI is clean. I think the colors are vibrant. I can see everything clearly. Right. I think seeing the battles on screen, it looks cool. Like, it's nice to see. And I actually kind of like get a better I actually feel a little bit more immersed because I can kind of feel like I can get like a good understanding of the world we're in. So I appreciate all of that. Now, could they have gone another level? Could it have been kind of like Fire Emblem, where there's like a 3D map, and when you jump into the battles, it's like it changes like in real time. Like, you realize that 2D map is the map, you know, kind of like that. Right. That would have been cool. It's not needed, so I don't have a problem with it. I think the game is fine visually. Yeah.
Other question, kind of related to the visuals, but kind of not. And I don't think it's a big deal, but did you notice that the frame rate's like very much all over the place constantly? Did you even notice?
Well, I haven't finished the game yet, so.
Well, I just mean like the entire game drops frames constantly and pretty much never hits 60 FPS. So it's kind of always between roughly 30.
So
and 50
you know
FPS.
what? I did see DirectV Games talk about that, but you know something else they said? They said it's not something you really notice during game. Yeah, it's just kind of like if you.
I asked because I didn't notice it in the trailers.
Yeah, and the thing is, I didn't notice it either.
I haven't even really noticed in the preview gameplay because you know, there's not a lot of like vertical or horizontal movement. So like, there's not a lot of things for you to notice the low frame rate because most things are pretty static most of the time. So I think it's fine. Plus, you're not really in direct control, so you don't need like.
Yeah, it's a turn-based. It's a turn-based game.
And it's not like it's dropping underneath 30 FPS. It's just not hitting 60, which is kind of, I think, unexpected for the visual quality of the game. But otherwise, I don't think it's a big deal.
It's another thing where if you use a tool to measure the frame rate and you see the frame is not super consistent, but that's only because you're using a tool and your actual what you see and perceive is unaffected by it, I feel like that should matter, you know? Now, if it was a consistent 60, would that be better than a 30 to 60 variation that we don't notice? I would say yes. But I don't think it's a big deal.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's something that I would probably notice some of the time, just not all the time. So it's not really a big deal.
I'll say that the game feels smooth. Like, it feels smooth. It feels fluid, which I like.
I mean, an uncapped 30 or an uncapped frame for this game, I think, is definitely better than if they'd capped it to 30.
Yeah, I think it feels better than just a locked 30 FPS game, which is what I'm trying to say. Right. So I mean, it feels nice. It feels kind of smooth. Yeah. But you know, beyond that, I don't think we really need to speak much more on Advance Wars. Unless someone has questions in the chat, I do want to kind of float this out at you, since we were kind of talking about how Nintendo was rushing things out, and it was kind of a topic of conversation earlier today. Like, do you think with Future Connected coming out this week and all the news coming out for Tears of the Kingdom coming out in a couple weeks, do you think these things impact the potential success for Advance Wars? I'll also point out, I think there was an indie direct that came out last week as well, which has a lot of games that compare to Advance Wars a few days before its release.
Right.
So like I didn't even mention that in the video today, but like all those different things, I feel like might take away from potential buyers of Advance Wars. However, one last thing I'll say before I'll give you the floor. I didn't point this out in the video either, but we've seen that it's number one in the eShop currently. It just came out. It's in the top 10 in the Amazon charts currently. It just came out, so you know it should be. But I mean, that's not a bad start, right?
Right.
But anyways, I'll extend it to you. Do you find it odd that they've done all these things surrounding Advance Wars? They're not really giving it too much spotlight.
I don't really find it odd. I just don't think the game. I think Nintendo never really thought the game was gonna like break records or sell super well. I think they figured that there's an audience who wants the game, and they don't really need to advertise it because the audience is well aware of when it's going to launch because they've been waiting a whole year, and that they're gonna pick it up whether they advertise it or not. So it wasn't really a focus for them because this is a very, very niche series, and pretty much anybody who's going to be interested in this game is like a die-hard fan. I think they could have gone with more marketing to try and get some other people to buy it, but I think that they just figured that their marketing would get washed out by the other games coming out around the time anyways, so there was no real point.
Yeah. Yeah. I do kind of wish the game came out like a while ago.
Yeah, I don't think it was launched at a very good time.
Yeah.
I
That said,
don't think it would have done much, like way better launched at a different time, though, to be fair.
you know what would excite me? If Advance Wars could at least hit 1 million. If it hits 1 million, I'd be pretty hype about that. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, I think now we can move on to the trailer. So, checking with the chat here. Let's see. I'm going to see what you guys have to say on this topic, and then we'll move on. I'm seeing here, so we've left this poll up for 34 minutes, 119 votes. I'll end it now. It gives me a pretty good barometer.
Yeah.
So, I asked earlier, how do we feel about daily bonus short-form videos with community-suggested topics? I want to emphasize bonus. And of the 119 votes, 88% said yes, 11, or I'm gonna. This is YouTube with a weird rounding thing, but let's say 12% said nah. It's always the people that said no that bother me. That was like, yeah, but what about the 12%? But if I do it, what about the 12%? You know. So that's kind of like something I think about. Like, oh man, but I want to make everyone happy, but I can't make everyone happy.
Yeah, it's impossible.
So I think what's going to happen, there's probably going to be a bit of a middle ground. I'm probably won't do, for now, well, maybe over time we'll see a bit of a ramp up, right? So right now we basically have daily videos and there's the occasional live stream. I think that's what it's going to be. I'm probably streaming more Breath of the Wild this week to try and see if I can get closer to beating that game because I'm in the beginning. But what I may do is I'm not live streaming. I'll have like a little quick bonus video on the weekdays. And we'll see how that goes, and we'll see. It'll be a little bit of an experiment. If you guys like it overall, obviously people in the live stream, most of you have said you'd be okay with it, but not everyone watches the live stream, right? I'm not sure how it'll do. Right. Is it too much work for me? Can I maintain that workload? Is it beneficial, right? So we'll see. I'll experiment with it. Maybe it'll be like 1 or 2 that come out this week, and we'll see how they do. So
put in some more mind power after the podcast to figure it out.
Maybe. Anyway, checking with the chat here. Let's see. Richard Megan. Just me, I can't play turn-based. Don't like it at all. Well, that is your opinion. You're entitled to it.
Each their own.
Jim says, I want more advanced war games, and I believe when I was asking you, do all these different things happening around Advance Wars impact? And Jim said, yes, it does to some extent. I believe that's what it was in reference to.
I think if Nintendo cared about selling this to a general audience, they wouldn't have priced it at $60. Even though it's technically 2 games, they're extremely old, extremely niche strategy games. And I feel would have done much better at like a $40 price tag.
Yeah, it's strange. Like they released Bayonetta Origins at $60. It looks like a fun indie game. And Bayonetta 3 is like a full-on big project, $60. Like how does those two things, like where's the connect there? Prime Remastered, which many are arguing is the most visually impressive game on Switch for the entire generation, that's $40. And then you know, like and then you have these 2 games. I mean, I think they probably should have released Advance Wars a little bit cheaper. I don't care that much personally, because I really wanted it. It was for me, but I will also say I was a little on the fence. I was.
Yeah.
I don't regret, but I don't regret it now that I'm playing. I'm enjoying. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna play this for a while. Like for me, I think this is a good fit, but like I might even like it more than Fire Emblem, just because Fire Emblem, like Advance Wars, feels a little bit easier to kind of jump into, if that makes any sense. I
Fire
think
Emblem, you gotta like worry about everybody dying, and there's like a deep story and things to it.
like I like Fire Emblem. It's just it's more of an investment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just
Only
kind
a
of
much longer game too. I don't think the Advance Wars is a super long game, is it?
yeah. I actually need to finish. I need to finish Engage. I haven't finished it yet. I have to go back to that. Yeah, so my backlog, dude. And Future Redeem comes out tomorrow. Like
yeah. Screw my backlog. I'm getting the Xenoblade 3 DLC, bro.
That's I would prioritize that too. Yeah. Having hope you're tempted to call in sick tomorrow. I did not tell you to. That's not. I didn't. You do. If you're sick tomorrow, you're sick tomorrow. If you're playing Future Redeemed, you're playing Future Redeemed. It will help your soul. I'll say that.
Just start eating like a bunch of like real old leftovers.
No. Don't actually get sick. Maybe just take a mental day. Sometimes we need a mental day. You know, sometimes you need a day to just kind of relax, chill. It's a mental health day. You're already sick.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about calling it sick, you're already sick.
If you have like a crappy boss and they're not gonna let you off like a doctor's note or something, just eat some old leftovers.
Or just take the day off.
Poisoning never killed anybody, right?
Maybe you don't have to say you're sick. Maybe you just say, hey, look, I need the day off. No questions asked. Depends on your job.
So you're just assuming you have a nice job with a nice boss.
You're right.
I'm helping out the people with the crappy jobs, the crappy bosses.
I hear ya. AB James, there is some new plant that you fuse with an arrow when it makes impact against something, creates a surrounding glow. We will get to that. We're about to analyze the trailer.
Oh, is that what that was? I just thought he shot it with an arrow.
I thought the same thing too. But we're gonna go frame by frame on this, and we're gonna check it out. Yeah, AB James, Flame Gleeok and Frost Goma confirmed. Totally. Well, it's not confirmed to be Frost Goma, but it seems highly likely. Highly likely. Venetus712 has joined as a member. Welcome, Venetus. Super appreciated. All of our members and patrons are featured in the credits for all of our videos and are eligible for call-in segments during the podcast. So just pointing that out for you guys. But let's do this. Let's jump into this analysis. Let's go.
Nice.
All right. So I'm going to pull up the trailer and put it up on the live stream for you guys. We're just going to go straight to YouTube and watch it together. So, and I don't remember. If I just put Tears of the Kingdom ad, I bet it'll come up.
Here. I'll watch it on the stream.
Yep.
It'll just be a little bit of a delay, but it should be fine. It should be close enough.
If I'm going frame by, it's a short trailer too, so I think it'll be okay.
Yeah.
All right. One moment here while I put that up. Let's see here. Set this up for real quick. I believe if I put this over here and click, there we go. Perfect. I got it set up. And yeah, I think that works. Let me make sure all the audio stuff is correct. You guys can hear me. You can hear the audio from the computer. Brandon, can you talk for me?
Yo.
You can be heard as well. Okay, cool. All right,
Nice.
so let me turn off the background music. We don't need that right now since we're going to listen to the trailer. All right. We'll play it one time, normal speed, and then we'll go frame by frame.
Whoa.
There. That's where I gotta go.
Yep.
How do I get over there?
I don't know.
There! The fan! At it! It flies!
The resolution is also bad.
No.
This commercial.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh, you just messed with the wrong.
Goblin.
Go up there!
So loud. I can't hear you. I'm going to lower the volume a little.
What is that?
And check this
I
out.
was just saying the quality of the footage we see for Tears of the Kingdom has been pretty bad most of the time.
Yeah, but this is clearly, like, not the actual resolution of the game. so I'm not really
Yeah.
worried about it. The whole entire ad is
You'll be surprised at what
low
you can
quality.
do when you master your imagination.
I'm surprised they uploaded this on their page.
The Legend of
I'm
Zelda Tears of
surprised
the
they
Kingdom,
uploaded
only on Nintendo Switch.
You know
Pretty
what?
much every
You know what,
trailer
actually-
the original 3.
So it okay. That's I was complaining about the resolution. It was autoing to 360p. So let's go back.
You gotta watch it 1080p. Yeah. I mean, I do remember it being not that great, but yeah,
Whoa.
definitely not
There.
that bad.
That's where I gotta go.
Well, I can see the hearts clearly now.
There, the fan.
That's a
at it.
big difference.
It flies.
Jeez.
Yeah, I just thought there was a lot of compression on the stream or something, but no, there's actually very little compression on the stream. It looks very good now.
Oh, you just messed with the wrong
Yeah.
goblin.
Go up there.
Like, it doesn't look like I'm watching
What
over a light.
is that?
And check this out.
Yeah. Whoa. I've seen several things
I think he just shoots the thing.
with an arrow, right?
Yeah.
I'm inclined to agree,
You'll
but
be
let's.
surprised at what you can do when you master your imagination.
Guys, we're going to the moon. All right, I'm joking, but am I? Sorry for screaming.
What are you?
But listen to this part.
The Legend of Zelda. What you can do when you master your
That's where. Let's right
You'll
here.
be surprised at what you can do when you master your imagination.
It's that you'll be surprised at what you can do with your imagination. And they have like this this little kind of like very mystical kind of chime coming in.
Right.
Obviously it doesn't confirm the moon, but
Struggling to see the moon.
but
comparison here
they
after-
say that while you're using the rocket shield and doing the moon jumps. The anti-gravity jumps or the reduced gravity jumps. Like, come on.
Mm,
It's
mm.
I'm crazy, man, but I'm crazy.
I think it's a possibility. I don't think this confirms it.
No,
But,
it doesn't. It doesn't confirm it at all. But it definitely gives you like there's certainly something mystical and mysterious about what actually can be done in this game.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen like 0.001% of the map so far.
Yeah, we know the map is huge, absolutely huge. Let me pull up the chat so I can see you guys here. Okay, cool. All right. Javier Vasquez, notice the guy green rocket. Maybe we use a bigger rocket to go to the moon. Yo, everyone's using the moon emoji in the chat. That's hilarious. I love
Let's
it.
Go, moon
I love it.
gang,
I love
moon
it.
gang.
I love it. All right, so let's start actually looking at the footage. All right, so if you look at this person's eyes, you'll notice. All right, that's a joke. We can see Link though, but that's nothing crazy.
Whoa.
It's ray tracing off those glasses. Oh my.
All right, so this is actually an interesting look at Hyrule Castle that we haven't had
Yes.
before. We got a nice look at the malice that is circulating Hyrule Castle. And part of what's interesting about this is that notice how we have 4 hearts, right? And I find that part interesting. Can you guys see my mouse on screen? You guys see
Yes.
what I'm pointing at? Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, so I was like trying to check the preview. All right, cool. So this is an early game segment. And here we are right next to Hyrule Castle. Now,
You know what we haven't thought about?
go on.
What if you just start the game with 4 hearts? Because they've never shown it with 3 hearts. I mean, it kind of always implies that there's probably like a certain amount of shrines you need to get through to get off like the Great Plateau segment. So they probably always put that into hearts. But it's technically not confirmed that you don't start with 4 hearts.
You're
I
right.
just wanted to point that out.
You're right. And I believe in Skyward Sword, we started off with 6 hearts.
Yeah.
AB James is saying there is a shot with just 3 hearts.
Oh, okay. I
Is
haven't
it
seen that.
in this
I
trailer?
thought that was most likely the case, but I've never seen one that I
Hmm.
noticed. That wouldn't surprise me though, because I do feel like they're just showing stuff like after you get off the tutorial segment, where you probably will either get enough orbs or whatever they are this time to upgrade either a heart or stamina, and they just always have chosen heart.
Yeah.
That's where.
I think most likely it's just the default. Most people are going to pick up a heart increase instead of a stamina
Yeah,
increase.
because like, see, every time they show it with 4 hearts, they have like just the normal stamina wheel.
Yeah.
Gotta go.
I see here. Chris Houlihan says no bombs equals no wind bombing. Yes, but we don't know if we don't have bombs.
We don't.
How do I get over
We
there?
do know is that I really like that glider design. It looks cool.
Yeah.
Could you get different glider designs in Breath of the Wild? I don't even remember.
No. No, you have the
I didn't
one
think
glider.
so.
You have the one glider. We have new gliders designs in Tears of the Kingdom. So before we move on to the next footage here, there is this mini map that we do see clearly a blue symbol here. It looks like a completed shrine. So that is something I think is worth noting. I think some people also talked about how on Twitter
I
that
think it's a shrine or a tower.
oh, that's a good point. That looks like maybe a tower because it's extending upwards. That's a good point, Brandon. Yeah, that might be a tower. Yeah, that could be a tower. Could be a tower. Can you hear screaming in the background, by the way?
A bit.
Yeah, I thought so. All right, one moment.
I'll read the chat real quick. Yes, there's a bit of a party in the house apparently. Someone getting real excited. You know, they're probably watching basketball or
Sorry.
sports or something.
Yeah, so the Miami Heat are playing, so they're
Yeah, I
watching
thought
and
so.
clapping. Problem is, I have the door cracked open so my cat can come in. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, you can't hear that too much anymore. Anyway,
Yeah, I can't hear it anymore.
they're not clapping. Yeah, they are watching the Miami Heat right now.
How do I get over there?
I do care about basketball, by the way. I just prioritize the podcast.
Right.
So here, what's interesting about this is that he's running on the rail. So what's funny is I'm totally gonna just run up the rails. If it's possible, that's what I'm gonna do. Like,
I mean, it is definitely looks possible, just difficult.
yep, and that's why I'm gonna prioritize it. If it's difficult, no problem, going for it.
You know, I kind of want to bring up a big point with this is in Breath of the Wild, when you're on the Great Plateau, there's a lot of puzzles about getting to places where you need to like cut down a tree to like bridge the gap and things like that. Whereas later in the game, when you get off the Great Plateau, those kind of puzzles disappear because you can go to anything from any angle. But I feel like the chance for those puzzles, we're seeing those kind of puzzles are returning, like just in the general overworld, because when you need to get up, when you need to get more elevation in the sky, there isn't always going to be an easy route that you can just climb up anywhere, you know? So having these kind of like puzzle where you actually need to get like a machine to get up these rails or just like try to actually climb up super carefully is something that like I don't think we would ever see in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I mean it's a whole level. Also, notice the island in the back. That looks almost like a tower on an island.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very tall structure there.
Yeah, the resolution is not high enough, so I can't really make out the numbers.
No.
I think that might say 1400 something. I think it says 1400.
Definitely looks
something.
like a 4-digit number.
Oh, it's totally a 4-digit number.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on with the trailer.
There, the fan.
Okay. So notice you got some batteries on here. This is on the surface. I'm not sure there's much
Right.
else to say about this scene. But there is something up here that I think is interesting that comes up later related to this game. Because they show like continued versions of different gameplay of playthroughs. They're just building a hovercraft there. Actually, to that point, they have a steering kit. So not only are there the fans, there's the batteries. There's a piece of wood, but there's also a steering kit. So I'm curious,
Right.
that may be another piece we're gonna find around the world.
I mean, we've seen some steering stuff for like the cars and different other vehicles before.
Okay, there we go. This is what I want to point out. Yeah. All right. So there's a couple of big things here. Something that I haven't seen anyone else mention yet, but I think is worthy of note, is that as you look carefully here at this right battery, you'll see the energy slowly draining as we go up.
Right.
So I think it's basically, yep, these are canisters with green
Not
zone
even
energy
that
magic.
slowly, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean it's you can tell it was when we
You're
started
frame by frame it, and it's dropping every frame.
right, like when we started it was slightly above the kind of like I don't know what you call this, whatever design stuff. Now it's below it. So
Yeah.
there you go. Now where people were talking about how Koroks seem to be confirmed to have come back, but we already know Koroks are in the game. But we see this ring of rocks, and looking at it, it could be perspective. It might be perspective, but it almost looks like there might be a missing rock here, but they could just be there. But there is a ring of rocks. And if they're rocks, we
yeah.
can move the rocks. I know we can move the rocks. So the question is this going to unlock the exact same Korok quest as before? Or is it simply there to remind us of that and it's somehow changed? Like, just because we're seeing evidence of what was the Korok quest in the past doesn't mean they haven't been redone or remixed or changed in some way.
I can't imagine they're just gonna have literally the same Korok puzzles again. Like, what would even be the point? You might as well just not have them in the game.
You know what would be
and just
interesting?
do the same thing again.
It would be interesting if all the Korok puzzles were the same, but it retains your data of Breath of the Wild. And if any Korok puzzles you've completed in Breath of the Wild translate over to the completed puzzles in Tears of the Kingdom.
That'd be interesting. Just like have a really big inventory and stuff right off the bat.
Yeah, I don't want them to do that because I want this to be treated as its own independent experience.
I don't think like upgrading inventory is gonna work the exact same way either.
Yeah, so I don't want that to happen either, but it would be interesting if they did do that. Beyond that,
curious, though,
it is
about
very
the
curious.
Ring of Rocks, like what is that for? Who knows? Seems like a Korok puzzle. That I mean, sometimes the correct answer is just the most obvious one.
Yeah,
but it would be weird.
Yeah. All right, so she's taking another effort here. This time she's put a fan on a cart, and you can see like the sparks actually, which is kind of neat as the cart's going up. That's cool. And because there's a coal on it, it's going to fall off. Jeez. Like, what do you do? What do you do with that? Like, how do you get that back?
Well, I think they're gonna show you in the like
that's
how
just
do you get it back up?
Yeah. Well,
I
guess
don't know. That is a good question.
You might be able to recall it back if you go all the way back down.
Oh yeah.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why they had recall for every time you screw up, just to recall it back. Huh. That makes a lot of sense. Wow. Like, because the thing is, we think about recall as like a limited thing, right? That's kind of like planned to be done with these blocks that are on the ground. But like, when you have a material like this, you're just going to drop off the island. That's a pain in the butt to bring back up, right?
Yeah.
Like, but if you have recall,
I mean, it would be seemingly impossible to do so.
Yeah, seemingly, but with recall, depending on how the limitations of recall, you might be able to recall it all the way back to the surface. That I think that I'm gonna guess that's what you do, because otherwise it would become a problem of resources.
Yeah.
You know?
Unless there's some kind of way other way to make it respawn, but I
You
don't
know,
know
it'd
how
be
you
really
fit that into
neat.
the lore.
You know, it'd be really neat if you can use recall in the air. So that way you don't have to wait till it goes all the way back down. You can chase it by diving, because you know when you're diving, you can accelerate downwards. You can
Right.
accelerate to perhaps outspeed a falling object, get near it, recall it back, instead of having to find it when waiting and trying to find when it falls all the way down to the surface.
That'd be interesting.
I think I don't have proof, but I believe this is the case. Now I'm now gonna be looking for like scenes where Link has recall while he's in the air and see if it's active. Okay, we got our.
You could just use Ultra Hand to like bring it around, but like oftentimes I feel like the islands would be probably too far apart for you to just Ultra Hand.
Nah,
it
yeah,
across
I
the
don't.
island.
That could take hours.
Yeah, that
if-
would take.
Assuming
long.
you could even find enough platforms to get up there. I think I'm right. I think you
Yeah.
you just recall an
I think
item
you're
back.
onto something.
Anyway, so now we're on the flame Gleeok. So we knew this was a Gleeok. Like,
Yeah.
did we? But now we know.
First time we saw it.
Yeah, first time we saw. Okay, that's a Gleeok. Now we have confirmation of it. Granted, we already knew it was confirmed. It's kind of like this is like quadruple confirmation. Because there is a rumor that was supported that we're like, yeah, that makes sense. It's probably true. Then this ad came out 10 days ago or something. We're like, oh yeah, now we know for a fact, but we can't say that because Nintendo will sue us. They wouldn't actually sue us, but like they would do that. And then, did you hear that? Did you hear the screaming then? I don't want to like tell them to stop. I think
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's just a very quiet clap in the background every
Yeah.
once in a while.
it's fine.
It's not constant.
Yeah. I'll put the background music back on, by the way, since we're not actually playing the audio of the trailer.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah. And then, so like, it was confirmed, but it wasn't official. Now it's official. Gleeoks are in Tears of the Kingdom, but not only are they in Tears of the Kingdom, it seems that there are going to be multiple types of Gleeoks because this is deemed a Flame Gleeok. So there may
Right.
be a Frost Gleeok, there may be a Thunder Gleeok, there may be a Malice
Whoa.
Gleeok. So, yeah, like there are going to be several Gleeoks, and this may not even be the only Flame Gleeok. Which I kind of hope. I kind of hope it's not. I want to be able to fight this thing multiple times. Of course, they could respawn eventually. Also, this one's on Bridge of Hylia. So they do.
Yeah.
That's our thing to point out. Because if you remember, like the Stone Taluses and the Hinoxes, I think they were kind of deemed based off where they were. This is the Flame Gleeok on Bridge of Hylia. So that's interesting. And what makes this more interesting is that we've seen there's a whirlpool on the left side of Lake Hylia, or if I think about it in terms of like the map, I guess the eastern side of the lake. This is also on the bridge, so I'm not saying that would have to be related. Like if you go into the water, I don't know if the Gleeok would see you from the bridge and come down, although that'd be kind of cool.
Oh.
It looks too heavy to stay in the air for very long though, so I doubt it. But you know, it'd be really interesting if you could knock the Flame Gleeok down and it crashes into the water. Like, what happens then? It probably would.
Yeah.
I imagine it dies, but
Just dies instantly like a Bokoblin.
maybe it's Flame Gleeok. So, what would be crazy if that whirlpool, giant squid comes out of it and it attacks the Flame Gleeok.
Dude.
That would be.
I mean, we have seen
sick.
enemies attacking other enemies, so.
Yeah. Now the weird thing is a giant squid or Octorok thing in the lake might not make too. An Octorok, yeah, but like the giant squid's from the sea, so probably not a giant squid there in a lake. Although it'd be interesting if we can find a way to go.
Loch Ness monster.
It would be interesting though if we find there's actually a channel in Lake Hylia that extends out to the ocean. In which case,
Oh, that'd be interesting.
it then becomes possible. So, but anyway, yeah, this is where we do see the 17 hearts. I've counted it already. So, and that I think that does imply that there will be more hearts because there's plenty of space here. They could add a second row It's not like there's enough space to add another row of hearts. There could add
I think
another
there might
row
have
of
to be,
hearts.
like 40. 2 rows of 20.
And there's 17 here. It's 34. I mean, how much further would they go? Could they go like to like right here? There could be 40. We could go up to 40 hearts. I don't know if I'm going to predict that, but that could be.
Just kind of weird to end it at like, because we have 17. It'd be weird to end it like 18 or 19, or even 17.
I don't know about that.
End the row at 20.
Where do they usually end?
I mean, typically I think it's 2 rows of 10 in the older games.
Oh, Breath of the Wild wasn't it 2 rows of 15?
I thought you could get a 3rd row.
Mm,
But that might be with golden hearts.
yeah, Breath of the Wild.
It might be 2 rows. It's probably 2 rows of
Heart
15.
limit. I'm gonna look it up real quick. You can have 30 hearts or 3 full bars of stamina. Yeah, it's 30 hearts. I don't know about. I don't know
knew
how
it was
the
30
yellow
hearts.
hearts.
I just
Yeah.
didn't know
I-
how the rows were done.
Yeah, I don't know how the yellow hearts impact that. But to that point though, like they ended at
It's probably
15
2 rows of
per
20.
row, right? So that's all I'm saying is what's 15 is 15 really any less arbitrary than 17?
Yes. It's a multiple of 5.
Okay, how about 18? It's a multiple.
That's divisible by 2, so it's at least a little bit more reasonable. But it's not. It's still a kind of a weird number to end on.
I agree.
19, I think, would be the weirdest one.
Okay.
Just end on 19.
Why is 19 weirder than 17?
Because you might as well just go up to 20, bro. Why are you stopping at 19?
All right.
It's such a weird thing to stop.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just simply questioning, like when, like
Could
they-
just be my autistic brain wanting the numbers to be a certain way, but it's weird to me.
I get it. Now this thing is shooting 3 beams of plasma, which is nuts.
Dude, this thing's gonna be insane to fight.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. All right, so what we got next? Oh, that's big. That's big. I forgot about this. So if you look at this right thumb here and you pay attention to the cuticle, that's a joke. So what's interesting about this scene is that you probably don't notice what he's carrying at first because you're too focused on the dragon. But if you pay attention, he has a pretty big sword and he has a big thingy on his back. And what you'll realize is that his sword's a big Zonai sword. That's crazy. But also he has the hand cannon we've seen before where giant blue balls come out when he's using it against the Talus. It's fused to his shield. So he is loaded.
He about to rocket this.
His sword almost looks like a two-handed sword, but he's holding it with one hand, which is interesting. I don't think it's a two-handed sword. I just think it's a cool-looking sword.
It's a pretty big one-handed sword, though.
Yeah, as far as one-handed swords go, it's a pretty big one. And he has a hand cannon for a shield, which makes sense.
Cannon on the shield's gonna be very important here.
If you can put a flamethrower on the shield, I don't see why you can't do this too. And I bet he got this from a construct. I wonder what kind of construct has a cannon. And
What do you think the ammo is used? Like what ammo is used? I mean,
I bet it's just unlimited. I bet it's just like magic. Same way bombs are
I
magic.
think there's like a meter to that. Then?
Nope.
It's gonna take your stamina. Or
Nope.
something?
Nope. I think it'll probably have it can the same way. Remember how there were magic wands, the rods? There was you could shoot fireballs, ice balls, thunder balls.
Right.
You'll shoot blast balls with this, but after a certain point it'll break. It's just that's pretty much
they
it.
break, so that's kind of your ammo there.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I envision it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. By the way, this Gleeok is thick. It's got a wide tail.
Yeah.
It's got a big torso. This is a fat dragon or a hydra.
He's got 3 heads. Gonna have
Yeah.
room for all them necks.
He's a big deal. All right, moving on. All right, is there anything crazy about this scene? Not really. You can use. I mean, we knew we can use Ascend like this. This isn't really anything surprising. We've seen this scene before. It looks epic, but it's nothing new. This scene's interesting though. So there was some. By the way, all the coordinates are in the negatives here, so all three.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're deep underground. Notice there's a mouse pull to the right over here. Now there is some debate. All right, so this isn't a normal arrow. I don't know what the arrow is.
They're right, some kind of plant something.
So the question is...
So it's... That plant is what he's shooting.
I agree,
so
because you can't see anything. So, like, why would he expect you to be able to hit something in the dark and not be able to see it all?
Yeah.
Right? Like, so
I mean, you can see it forming into the plant. Pretty obviously.
Yeah. And, I mean, it almost looks like the bud is what was on his arrow. So... It's a cool thing to have.
Some kind of plant you can pick up something new that we've never seen before.
Yeah, I mean, you see a new type of grass, new type of trees. I mean, it's an underground area. That's what this is.
The bud almost looks like the those Zonai like.
By the way, 4 hearts.
Have that kind of.
Oh yeah, like the dragon egg thing or flower bud. Yeah, I agree. So. Well, another thing I'll point out, it almost because there's a gear on the mini map. I'm not sure what that's tied to, but that is there.
Just off screen.
Yeah, we can't see it. There is something else interesting about this scene. We got a nice close-up shot of this giant amber like sack with these weird like branches. We see this is like the third one we've seen in the game.
Very Metroid Prime looking.
Very Metroid Prime looking. This is all very Metroid Prime looking. But you'll notice there's something dropping from this sack. Like a green liquid. Like a green tear, maybe? I'm not saying it's like a tear of the kingdom, but I think it is maybe like a green tear that we can collect. Potentially, I think it could be... Remember how there was the second teaser where they showed like this green puddle with a drop?
Yeah.
What if that's what this is?
Maybe it enhances your recall ability.
Maybe. There's definitely something green kind of sticking out here. I think it's a tear or a liquid thing.
It could be a collectible as well.
Could be a collectible that we could use, because that green thing we saw in the teaser was on the surface. This is not the surface. This is underground, and there's no debate, because it's literally negative on the z-axis.
Yeah, this is very clearly.
Yeah, and if you want to debate where the z-axis is, all 3 numbers are negative. So, yeah. Which, by the way, we kind of knew this already because we saw 1 negative. It was the middle number, so it implied the others could all be negative too. But basically, this means that the map, there's a middle point for each axis, 0, 0, 0, and we can go in the opposite directions for each one. So it just kind of further supports the idea of how big this map is. Now, we don't know if we can max out these numbers, but I'm going to find out day 1. So pay attention to my live stream.
Yeah, I mean, it's harder to tell how far you can go underground than above ground, like in the sky, because you can see up to the sky. You can't really see further down the ground until you find, like, a place to see through.
Yeah. It's cool stuff. All right, so here she's attached more carts so she can get past the hole. There you go. And I think that's pretty much it for this trailer. Which, I mean, I would say there's actually a decent amount of little tidbits there.
Yeah.
We've seen all this stuff before. By the way, I just want to kind of correct myself. Oh, this looks a lot like the sword he had against the Gleeok, but it's on a rod staff thing. Right. I've expressed doubt before this is Zonai Ruin. I never said it wasn't. I just wasn't 100% on it. If you pay attention to the sides, that looks like Zone 8 text, and I think I never took up the best look, but I think these are pretty much like the little, that here you can see it clearly, that's like the little Zonai flower, bud, lamp, egg thing. Yeah. So this is Zonai Ruin. I don't think it changes the possibility that this could be the Eagle Hole. I think it still could be the Eagle Hole. It looks to be about the size of it.
Right.
We don't know for a fact, but it's definitely possible. But I think we covered it. Nothing else about this. It's crazy here.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Nope. Everything else we've seen it all already before. So, what? The game comes out on May 12th?
Oh my gosh! They have a release
Insane.
date for the game.
That's insane. All right, let's check in with the chat. See what you guys have to say. A moment to take this off screen here. All right, I don't need that anymore. Very cool. Where are you guys? There we go. All right, cool. Yep. I got that Xenoblade 2 OST Gormat playing in the background. That's what I had available for the music this time around. I feel like I should have some Xenoblade music. I didn't have Xenoblade 3 kind of queued, so ready, so I didn't put it on.
Nice.
Next week, when we talk about our future redeemed impressions. And we'll be talking about that next year. Then we'll bring in Samuel A for the call-in, and we'll probably do more Tears of the Kingdom speculation. We're in the final hour of the show. So I'm just kind of looking through the chat here, if I see anything I missed. Samuel A. Miami Heat are doing some crazy stuff right now, though. Granted, Bucks haven't had Giannis, but Heat are beating them as an 8 seed. Go Miami. I'll say that Miami the last few years has actually, the last year they were the number 1 seed. They just had a weird year. So I think their 8th seed placement is misleading. But also, Miami lost Tyler Hero, the 3rd best player. Then they lost Victor Oladipo, who was a solid role player for them. And Giannis, I think, is supposed to be back tonight. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Let's see here. Chris Houlihan. My favorite zone I set so far is the one where Link is shooting a ruby arrow. Like, he has some cool horns there. I like the ruby arrow. The ruby arrow is pretty cool. Giancarlo, 20 plus 20 equals 40. I agree that the 20 plus 20 equals 40. I'm pretty sure he's talking about, we were kind of like debating about the heart count.
I'm just not sure if it caps at 20 per line.
Yeah,
though.
we're not certain. I think 20 would be a nice even number, but it does go very far into the screen. That's why I'm like debating, will they really push the hearts that far into the screen? Or will, as you get more hearts, do the hearts get smaller? Do they fit the UI? Or do they stop at 16? Or, I mean, we know they go to 17, so that's not true. Do they stop at 18? Not certain. I could see them stopping at 18, just for the record.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Go for 36.
And the main reason is just because I feel like it would be weird to put the hearts that deep, because if it's at 20 hearts, it's almost touching the text for like the bosses. It isn't. There'll be still like a somewhat of a gap, but it'll be close. So just something that I'm kind of wondering about. If I had to guess, like if you put a gun to my head, I would guess 20. Although I would rather just not have a gun pointed to my head, because you could never be certain about these things. I wouldn't want to be in that kind of scenario. AB James, it could launch ice bombs. Man, what if there wasn't an ice cannon? That would be sick. Be so cool.
There may be.
Yeah, what if you can fuse a rod with like what if you could find an ice rod and you fuse the ice rod to the cannon, so when you shoot the cannon, ice comes alongside with the cannon? That would be cool. Yeah. Charles Trudon, yeah, another golden poop for those completionists. Jim, Zone armor suit allows you to breathe water and swim. I know you said not to quote you, but I just wanted to say it. Yeah, it's cool. Don't worry. It's all fun speculation here. We don't know what's gonna happen. We're just enjoying the creative thoughts, considering the possibilities and what may happen, what may not happen, just considering the options.
It'd be odd to be able to go underground on the surface and in the sky, but not underwater. Be kind of odd.
I mean, if you can go to the water, if you can go to the deserts, if you can go to the sky, if you can go underground, you can go to the surface. Maybe you can go to space, the final frontier. The final frontier. 70x7. This is just like a dragon fight on the bridge in Caelid from Elden Ring. They clearly took some cues. Even the Sky Islands are golden, just like the Atlas Plateau. I don't think it's based off Elden Ring. Golden Sky
Oh, I always
Islands.
have with these people are like, oh, it's based off of such and such game that came out. Like, a lot of times it'd be games that like just came out. And it's not like they just saw Elden Ring come out and were like, we have to shift the entirety of the art direction of this game.
Well, the other thing is that Elden Ring had a pretty short like gameplay reveal till release cycle compared to Tears of the Kingdom, and we
that's what
saw
I'm saying,
the
like-
Golden Sky Islands back in 2021. So, I mean, that had been in development for a long time already. Not to mention,
Yeah.
there's already lore of Golden Sky Islands throughout various other games over the past decades of the series. So I wouldn't say that was taken from Elden Ring, but I'm not saying they weren't taking a look at Elden Ring. There could be inspirations, but with that, I think that was kind of just a lore thing.
It's too big of a thing for them to have changed just because of Elden Ring. But
Yeah.
there might be some hints of some small inspirations.
Yeah.
But obviously, this is a game that's been in development for so many years. They're not just changing things based off of other games that are releasing.
Yeah. I think inspiration from other games would come early on, not late.
Yeah.
Not late. No. Like the research and development phase, when they're still concepting, thinking about ideas, pulling together different things. Once they're like in earnest developing the game, I think inspiration is pretty limited, if at all. Like they're gonna pitch new ideas throughout development, and
Right.
so it's possible someone had an idea they got from another game they were playing, and they pitched that, and maybe that could have been introduced, but I think a lot of the core concepts were kind of established early on.
Yeah, I mean, even in the 2019 trailer, we saw the castle rising, which was clearly now in hindsight a reference to like the fact that there's going to be the Sky Islands and things.
Yeah. Solar Sun, it's the
And
new light
underground.
arrows.
I mean, in a way,
They're the new plant arrows. Plant
that you provide
arrows.
light.
Actually, which is cool. Bioluminescent.
Yeah.
And actually, to that end, Chris Hulhan's asking, why is there vegetation down there? There looks to
There's also
be.
vegetation underground, isn't there?
Yeah. Now, we need to light that area up, but I wouldn't be surprised if there are some bioluminescent, like organisms in the underground, because for those who don't know what that is, bioluminescent is basically something that has its own light source, basically, that doesn't need sunlight. And you'll see some things like that in the ocean, for example. So, there could be like maybe some light sources deep underground or even underwater. We may see some of that. And I mean, some of the plant life we're seeing is very much it's very exotic. And I think that's the idea with the underground. It's an exotic environment. That's just kind of what they're trying to showcase with the plant life and things like that.
A lot of it's been growing off of like roots and stuff as well, which seem to act as kind of like trees.
I mean, it's another interesting consideration. Like you're talking about plant life being underground. Plant life is underground. That's what tree roots are. Yeah. So, I think you're just building off that idea. Moving on here. Let's see. AB James, what was that long vertical tunnel in the final trailer that Link was wind gliding down while dodging lasers? The same tunnel that Master Coco fell down into? That's
what
worth
we've been
theorizing.
speculating.
Yeah. It fits. The width is comparable. It's the only big deep hole we know about in Breath of the Wild. It doesn't have to be that one, but like, can you imagine a hole that's that deep that you can't see the bottom of on a sky island? They want it to be a very big sky island. So I'm thinking
It have to be basically just a tunnel.
Yeah.
in the sky.
Either that or it's an entirely new tunnel. on the surface. It goes deep underground. I think it's I think it's the hole from the Master Koga, the
It
Iga
fits.
hideout. Yeah, but there could be multiple. Might not be the only hole. We know there are other holes. You know, so are there holes that are that big?
Right.
70X7. How many gold items were in Skyward Sword? I think he's trying to make a point that because they weren't in Skyward Sword, that it may have been inspired from Elden Ring.
Oh, like the trees. Oh, I get you.
Yeah.
I thought he was just asking how many islands
well,
were in
if-
Skyward Sword in general.
The Sacred Realm is depicted as a golden land. And the theory is, my theory, and I think a lot of people share this theory, is that the Sky Islands are tied to the Sacred Realm. We know that the dragons, according to Creating a Champion, which came out in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, ascend to the heavens. Sky Islands, Golden Land, Sacred Realm, all things that have been depicted before in prior Zelda games and lore. It's all tied to that idea. So there's a history there. Lloyd J. Stubbs, 23K now. Now, GG, soon be 25K. People. I hope.
Yeah.
We're trying our best. We've definitely gained a lot of momentum. Well, it's a YouTube game's always up and down, right?
Right.
I'll say that it's gonna be close. Growth has slowed down a bit recently. It's still growing faster than I've ever have. For most of my YouTube career. So I'm not complaining in any way, but it's gonna be a close call. We got 2K. We got to 1,950 subscribers to go, and we have 17 days. So
It's doable.
I've basically been thinking that if I gain about 1,000 subscribers a week, I'll get there, which is what I've been kind of doing. So we'll see what happens. We shall see. But all right, let's talk about Xenoblade a bit before we bring in Samuel A, and we'll dive into some additional Tears of the Kingdom speculation. So,
Cool.
Future Redeemed is coming out tomorrow, Brandon.
Yeah.
Do you think this game is going to be bigger than Torna, the Golden Country?
I think it will be more important than Torna the Golden Country, because Torna was just like kind of a story we already knew, right? And this is like something we don't really know anything about,
Yeah.
or not like a bunch at least.
It's shrouded
I'm
in
not
mystery.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with the deep lore for most of the Xenoblade series, to be honest, because it's very, very complicated.
It is.
But there's definitely a lot of stuff that I can't remember them ever touching, at least in great detail, in the main campaign of Xenoblade 3. Whereas Torna, you didn't really know exactly what went down, but you knew the main beats of everything that was happening in Torna. So I definitely think there's going to be a more importance on this. Whether or not I think it's longer, that's like really hard to say. I'm not even sure if I really want it to be like much longer, because I thought Torna was actually a really good length. But if it was another like 10, 15 hours, I wouldn't mind, because I think I beat Torna in 25 or 30 hours. So if it was more like a 40-hour experience, that would be nice as well. But to be honest, I'm pretty happy with how much Torna was, and it is the same price. So I wouldn't expect anything that's like way, way longer. But I think the story content and the stuff that we actually do in the game is gonna feel a lot more impactful and meaningful than Torna did.
Yeah. I'm not going to spoil anything, and I don't know because I intentionally avoided it for myself. But Nishquick messaged me recently, and I heard about it a while ago, but I didn't think much on it. that there were leaks, like of a data mine that suggested that there were more cutscenes in Future Redeemed, if I'm not mistaken, than Torna, suggesting that it might have more of a significant story, which in turn suggested it might be a bigger campaign.
Yeah. I think the significant story is just pretty obvious just watching the trailer.
Yeah. And the thing is, while Torna was cool, we didn't know everything, but we knew it was going to be a tragedy. We knew that.
Yeah.
We don't know if Future Redeemed is going to end in tragedy. I mean, there is tragedy as the lore of it with the deaths and stuff, but we don't know what's going to happen to the main cast. That's still
honest,
a mystery.
I think there is probably if you knew more about what was going on in the trailer, dissected it more, you might know more about this, but I have no idea when this happens compared to Xenoblade 3. It definitely seems, because we see N, so it's definitely after, the original kind of people who tried to fight back. Like N's already taken over.
I could shed some light on that for you.
Okay, yeah, do so.
All right, so there's at least 2 time periods that we've seen with Future Redeemed. And I don't know how much of a significant gap there is between the 2 time periods. It could be a couple weeks. I don't know. But there's 2 gaps of time because we see a scene with Alvis with the first teaser for Future Redeemed.
Right.
And that scene with
Which
Alvis,
is interesting. There's a line where we said that they got a gift from Alvis, but earlier we were speculating that Alvis was the enemy because they seem very antagonistic against him.
We're not. Yeah, it depends. But also in the trailer, Zed suggests that I think he says it's kind of hard to understand it, but he says, "Do you intend to erase us, my god?" I think that's what he says.
I think he says Michael.
I don't.
That's what I thought he said. He said Michael.
It's odd, but
could have just said Matthew. Very weirdly.
Not sure, but this is what we do know. Rex and Shulk are in that first teaser. Rex had both of his arms, and Shulk had both of his arms. Rex also still never lost his arms. Rex's arms are fine, but Rex had 2 eyes. Shulk had 2 arms. Rex had 2 eyes. In the recent trailer, Rex has 1 eye. He has a scar on the other eye, and Shulk has 1 arm. Now, we kind of knew this was going to happen, though, because in Xenoblade Chronicles 3, there are 6 statues that depict the founders, and 5 of them are actually, we've seen playable in Future Redeemed, but they kind of told us what happened. They said, oh, this one lost their arm, this one lost their eye in battle, blah, blah, blah. So, if you have Xenoblade 3, go to the town, go to the founder statues, read them. That gives you a little bit of a teaser for what to kind of expect. But the point is that both Shulk and Rex went through some kind of battle where one lost an arm, one lost an eye, and then so like there's a little bit of a time difference there. So there's at least that. Another interesting thing to consider about Future Redeemed, though, is that yes, having hope, you're right. Shulk does have longer hair. His hair grew, so there's definitely at least a few months, it looks like. But in the statue for Matthew in the town, it suggests that he disappears mysteriously. So we don't know what happens to him. He could potentially die at the end of Future Redeemed. Maybe he goes to the future. It is called Future Redeemed. It's future is in the name. So
because there's a lot of signs that point to this being in the past, but then it's like
it definitely
Future Redeemed.
I think it definitely is in the past. I mean, especially because N is still around, right? Like N is not. N dies. I don't want to spoil anything. He's a bad guy. The bad guys die. But he's around somewhat in it. After Xenoblade, like basically his end is around suggests that it's prior to the events of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. That's the main point. Right. But it doesn't mean there can't be events that take place afterwards. Something to consider about Xenoblade Chronicles 3, they're kind of locked in time. It's called the Infinite Now. It's possible that our party escapes the Infinite Now. So I don't think it's totally out of the realm of possibility that some part of Future Redeemed tells a story about after the events of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So while the gameplay seems to be taking place before the events of the main story of Xenoblade 3, I think there could still be story elements, potentially gameplay, though less likely taking place after the main story of 3. So while it's a prequel story, it might also somehow be a post-game story. I think it potentially could be both, because time is handled differently in Xenoblade 3, especially because it's the infinite now. By the way, Having Hope 5 said earlier, Andres 3 Stars, my favorite YouTuber. Thank you for saying that. I'm glad you feel that way. That means a lot. Thank you. The Zesty Car. Andres, have you talked about Advancers yet? Did I miss that whole discussion? Yeah, we did talk about it earlier. But I'll say that I think Advancers is great. Brad and I do think it's a little odd that all this content has come out beforehand, but it's just kind of like an unfortunate circumstance. But
Yeah.
some relatively decent early numbers have come out. Not numbers, but we're seeing that it's number one on the eShop. It's doing well in the Amazon charts. So Advancers might still sell relatively okay. And that's kind of like a basic synopsis. If you like strategy games, get Advancers. That's good. But anyway, yeah. So Xenoblade 3 in terms of prequel or post, it's a prequel story. But there's going to be elements that may take place after the fact. They may tell us things we don't know. So
I'm fine with a prequel story though, because there's a lot we don't know about most of the stuff surrounding the events of Xenoblade 3. There's a lot we don't know.
Yeah. Darcy says, why is Z next to Shulk and Rex? We don't know. We don't know, but tomorrow we may find out. We may find out. Netweed09, Xeno 3's graphics are cheating. I tell you all. It secretly has Switch 2 modules built into each cart. Pulling something from the Super Nintendo days where they would add extra chips to improve the graphics.
Right.
Yeah, what if? That'd be crazy. Chips aren't big enough to do that, but...
It's just the power of reconstruction.
And blast processing. Yeah. Yep. All right, let me see if Samuel A is ready. I plan on ending the show exactly at 9:30, mainly because I want to see the end of the Heat game, and also I'm trying to
Nice.
I'm trying to be more regulated with the scheduling, especially if we're gonna start doing more videos. But let me see if he's ready. He probably is. Maybe. Let me try calling him in now. Okay. Oh, Discord changes UI. Why is there a rocket ship option? What is this rocket ship? Oh, they're probably they're probably also predicting that we're going to the moon in Tears of the Kingdom. That's the only logical conclusion.
Oh yeah, there is a rocket ship. Suggested activities. You want to just play Gardic phone?
No, I'm good. All right, I'm gonna create a new
Maybe some other
group
time.
DM. Oh, actually, it's an old one, so I'm gonna just call you from the old one. Let me know if you guys can hear me.
Right.
Brandon, you're there.
Yes, I am.
It looks like Samuel A is AFK. See, look. I'm young. I said AFK. Doesn't that make me cool? I'm gonna shut up now.
You sound more and more boomer
Just don't.
by the second.
That was all intentional. Please don't judge me. Yeah. He didn't answer. He may jump in at some point. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back here. He's technically can jump into this call at any point. So when he's ready. Yeah. All right. So there we go. We're visible again. All right. Cool. So yeah, I mean, while while we wait, we'll just we'll just basically end the show with Q&A. So we got 30 minutes of Q&A. Any questions or ideas you want to talk about Xenoblade, about Advance Wars, about Zelda, or what have you, feel free to do this. I see. Thank you for the super chat, Samuel. So Samuel's saying, Andres, the new Discord account I made, remember? I did not remember. I forgot. That explains why you didn't answer the call. All right, let me set that up real quick. That makes sense. All right. What was the name of it? It's okay. I got it. There we go. Brand, you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Hey, Samuel.
Yeah, optimal place for the video, so I just turn it off.
That's all right.
That's fine.
Yeah, there's not much space in the house. I get personal space, so.
All good, buddy. All right, cool.
Yeah, so I'm thinking I'll probably want to talk about Zelda and Xenoblade.
Let's go.
Probably mostly Zelda, because I know once I start talking about Zelda, it's like all Zelda.
Yeah.
Let's go. Whatever you want to talk about, let's go. So, you know.
Yeah, there was actually a lot to dissect from that ad. I wasn't expecting that.
That's a pretty good ad.
It was just going to be the same thing as the what was leaked, but and that was pretty good. Damn, there's a lot. Let's start with Xenoblade.
Sure. Yeah,
because that should be shorter. Yeah, so the cutscenes there's more, right? I saw there's like 47 or something.
Hey, I didn't look at any data mines. I don't know, so please do not talk about the leaks. Yeah.
Oh, my bad. Yeah.
That's all right. Saying 47 doesn't really say much, but I'm gonna, I'm not gonna talk about the leaks specifically. I mean, I referenced them earlier, just that because people saw them and it suggested the game is longer, which I don't feel like is really a spoiler saying, oh, this suggested the game might be longer, but I don't want to talk about what those leaks are exactly.
No, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. Yeah, but I mean, I think the game is longer. I saw the player essence. He had a source apparently. He said on Twitter that the game is big. It's very big. We saw footage of Matthew and A, two of the 6 party members starting at level 2, but we also saw footage of the party members being at level 65. So it's quite a range of footage that the official Xenoblade Japanese Twitter has posted. And that suggests that there is quite a bit of length to the game. Now, the problem with that is that they could, in theory, have shown us footage in the post-game of Future Redeemed, which, that's... I don't know. It's hard to say with 100% certainty how big Future Redeemed is.
They usually have super bosses, right?
They do have super bosses. But I think the fact that they show that range, I think that at least implies that we're looking at a hardy experience here that's at least comparable to Torna. I didn't even get to the 60s in Torna. I got to the high 50s. So, again, I didn't play too much. I didn't focus. I did do a little bit of post game, but it wasn't much. So I'm not sure. It's kind of hard to say with 100% certainty if Future Redeemed is bigger. But we're gonna find out probably by the end of the week.
Yeah, I don't even remember a whole bunch from Torna. I played it like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember it took me like 15 to 20 hours or something. I didn't spend a ton of time on it, but it was lengthy. It was, you explain it, like a Pokemon game.
Yeah, but better. For Xenoblade.
And I just, yeah, Pokemon as of late, they really need to tune down the release schedule.
Yeah, I love Pokemon, but it's not. I wouldn't compare it to the quality of Xenoblade. Granted, it's also got multiplayer and stuff, so and it is an annual release. Xenoblade's a little bit more spread out.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if Pokemon, instead of mainline games coming out every 3 years, even 4 years, like that could do wonders for them.
I mean, think about this for a moment, though. Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Torn of the Golden Country, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, which included Future Connected, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed. That's 5 different releases of Xenoblade adventures. If you count Future Connected as a separate adventure, there's 6 adventures you can enjoy. But I'm just thinking about in terms of releasing of adventures, right? So they've had 5 releases throughout the Switch generation. That's not that much less than what Pokemon has done. But
they made Xenoblade 2 in like 2.5 years.
Yeah. So while they haven't been an annual series, they've definitely been pretty good. I would say they've offered more content and better content than Pokemon Company in terms of just like the campaigns. The problem with Pokemon though is there's a lot more to think about. There's a lot of creatures to build around. There's multiplayer, and that's a whole other wrinkle. Like Xenoblade games aren't multiplayer, right? It's a whole other level there.
It's also like Pokemon. I don't think they ever had the time to make an engine that can actually take use of all the Switch's features in a way that works very well. Whereas even for Xenoblade 2, even though it wasn't like the best, most optimized game, like in handheld mode, it had a pretty low resolution, but they still had the base of the engine they made with Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Wii U. They still had that same base engine to work off of, and then they just kept improving that. Whereas I feel like if Pokemon Company actually had or Game Freak specifically actually had the time to sit down and make just focus on their engine and their tools and not have to worry about making the game because it's coming out in the next, like 3 years at max, then they would actually like get things out better.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, it should be at least the same length because Xenoblade 2 came out in December and Torna came out in September, correct? So that's like 9 months. This is also 9 months, I think.
It's similar. It's actually
exactly 9 months.
It's a similar time frame.
Yeah, like it feels like we're getting it early, but it's the same development time pretty much.
I guess the difference is that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 had 4 waves. Torna was 2 waves or 3. So
I don't remember because I only care about the last wave.
I think it might have been similar. I think it was 3 waves.
Xenoblade Chronicles,
because there was a wave that came out with it, and then there was I think a wave with like DLC quests and stuff.
I'm trying to find like
it might have been
something to tell you the waves.
At least 3 though.
I think I'm pretty sure Xenoblade 2 was 2 to 3 waves. I'm just trying to see how many. It may have been 3, to your point. I'm trying to find it. But I think the problem is that when I Google it, it's just telling it. Only articles about Xenoblade 2 are coming up. About Xenoblade Chronicles 3 are coming up, so I can't see. It's not letting me find the.
I looked up the expansion pass and it doesn't even say on their website.
Yeah. That's the tricky part. If you go to the Switch eShop, it'll probably tell you.
Yeah, I'm looking on their website right now.
I'm trying to see if there's like a graphic maybe somewhere for. It's just they won't let me see the truth. They won't let me. It's all Xenoblade 3, Xenoblade 3, screw Xenoblade 2.
I'll look up a roadmap, see if I can find it.
Anyway,
I found it.
I think I just found it too.
So
No, it
yep,
didn't.
So December 2017, we got helpful items for the adventure. Apparently in January we got a new quest.
Yeah.
Spring was a rare blade. Summer was new enemies in a challenge mode, and then autumn's when we got the Torna.
So they didn't
So
describe it
actually
as
5
waves. They didn't describe it as waves. Interesting.
They didn't describe it as waves. It essentially is 5 waves.
But
It
anyways,
was like 5 DLC drops.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think I remember going into collections and seeing like, oh, this is part of
yeah.
DLC 4 or something like that.
Yeah, I think the takeaway is that it's about the same amount of content coming out in about the same time period. Looks like.
Yeah. So it should be at least on par.
Yeah.
And I think they'd want it to be, since it's the conclusion of
Yeah.
the Klaus saga.
Yeah.
Right.
This
you
quick
think there's gonna
pops.
be a,
Sorry, I'm just he added me. I just brought it up real quick. Asked, do you think the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 base game story is incomplete and it's not a good thing that we need the DLC to answer a lot of questions? I'm curious to hear Brandon and Sam talk about this too. I don't feel like. No, I mean I have zero problems with the story of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 as a base game. I think it's a lengthy game. I think it's hearty. I think it's a satisfying end. Now, it left me wanting more, but not because it was lacking in depth or content, but simply because I really loved the characters and I wanted to see more of the characters. And we may not even see more of the characters, right? It was almost like teasing more to come in the future.
My perspective is Xenoblade Chronicles 3, in terms of story, did a really good job of building out the world and building out the characters, but so much actually explaining why the world was set up the way. Like, they kind of showed it a little bit, but they didn't really explain how anything led up to the point to where it got, and it didn't explain really what was happening. It was just kind of like, oh, there was such and such event, we did such and such to try to stop it, such and such happened. Very quickly, didn't really go into much detail. And in terms of like actual information on how the world came to be the way it is, we got some general answers, but a lot of the stuff they were figuring out in the game was just like really obvious stuff. Like, the consoles are evil and we're all being controlled, and like basic stuff that like as soon as the game comes out, but the characters technically don't really realize it. And I think the game does a great job of character and world building in terms of like what's happening in the moment, but it doesn't really do a lot to explain like how things got to that point. And then it's hard to explain without spoilers, and I've only seen the ending the once when I played it, so I have to go back and look again. But the ending also just left so many questions.
I'm salty that
So-
the DLC's a prequel because of that.
Yeah, a bit, yeah.
So are you arguing that for you felt like the story of Xenoblade 3, if there wasn't a DLC, would be a problem?
It wouldn't be a problem, but I don't think the story I wish it connected more to the overall story in a more obvious way. Like when you played 2, and again, it's hard to say without spoilers, but
Okay, so what you're
there's
saying
a whole like second half of the story of 2 or more like the last quarter of the story in 2, brings everything together, and you really start seeing like the connections to 1, and the world gets it's very nice. Whereas
this is my
don't
disagreement
get a bunch
phase.
of that in 3.
This is my disagreement phase. This is my disagreement phase. I don't agree. I just don't agree. I'm not I'm not saying there isn't truth to what you're saying. I get it. I think they intentionally left mystery about the founders, and they built up a storyline there because they were teasing the expansion adventure. I think that was kind of developed. They were making the game with DLC in mind. Like, they already knew they were gonna have an expansion adventure. Like, that was all planned. But it's something they made after the fact. I don't think it's like they're trying to milk us. I mean, they are trying to make money from us, but that's their job. But they're giving us more game. But in terms of like, I personally was satisfied with how 3 connects to the rest of the world. but in part because I felt that, especially with Future Connected, the epilogue to Definitive Edition, like literally they're pulling in. I don't want to spoil too much about 3 if you haven't played it, but they're pulling in the world of 2 and 1 together, and there are characters from 1 and 2 that come together that you interact with and talk to, and that problem of the worlds colliding that was already hinted at with Future Connected in the prior remaster, that was all alluded to, was all set up, and they resolved that problem. It was resolved. So I think it's fine, but thinking on it,
Right. Like, I mean, it gives you a general explanation, but it's very, there's a lot to interpret for everything. Like, it's hard to even really quantify. Earlier I heard you call him Z. I'm used to hearing the European pronunciation, so they say Zed. But Zed's motivations aren't even like super clear or realized. As a villain, I don't think he was the most interesting.
I agree with that. This is my agreement phase. I agree.
Yeah.
What are you saying, Sammy?
Whereas he was essentially a concept, whereas in 1 and 2 there was some, very interesting villains. I mean, Zed's is, he's essentially like a computer. Yeah. He is Origin or something like that.
I think N is the more interesting villain for.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is, what's interesting about
story was really good.
N story was very good. I mean, 3 has 25 villains if you think about it.
Yeah.
So
there's a ton.
But like obviously we're talking about the main villain. But I guess the point is that what's interesting about 3 compared to the other games is that there's more opposition, there's more antagonists in 3. So I guess it's harder to give one single character more time because they have so many other characters that you're dealing with. Which on one I thought was cool, but to your point, I do agree that Zed was a little underdeveloped. I agree with that. And you look at Future Redeemed, and we know that Zed is in there. We may get a little bit more background on him, and that may impact our feelings on him a little bit more. So there is that, and there is still the mystery.
What was missing was the rivalry. I think that's what it needed.
I understand that. I mean, with N, they had that rivalry with Zed. There was just kind of like, hey, so you're meeting me for the first time. All right, time for the final battle of your lives. Like, I hate that. Like, I hate that in games. So I get what you're going with that. But hate. I mean, hate's maybe a real. I dislike, or it's not a preference. But what I was gonna say is that the big mystery that's kind of left is we know that there were 3 Trinity. You know what I'm talking about. There's Logos, Numa, and Ontos, the Trinity Stones. There's another. I'm forgetting the name. Trinity Stars, Keys.
I don't
Trinity
remember
something.
these Trinity Stones existing at all.
Okay, you do. You do.
I probably do. I just don't.
You do. Malos is Logos. Malos has the cross. Trinity Processor. Thank you, Venetus. Numa.
Oh yeah. We see that in the
Pyramyth. Or the thing is Ontos. I mean, Logos and Numa have different names, so it gets confusing. But Ontos is Klaus. He's the 3rd Trinity processor. He was sent to the world of Xenoblade 1, while Xenoblade 2 dealt with the other 2 Trinity processors. And now we're seeing that red sort of Trinity processor on 3 different characters. It's on Klaus, it's in the earring for A, who starts with A, and it's like the 26th council member, but we thought that's what Klaus is going to be, so that's a whole other bajamble, and that's a new word. And then there's Nile, who has it as well. And what's crazy about Nile doesn't seem to be playable. A is taking her place, but if you look at Xenoblade 3, the 6 statues, Nile's part of the 6 founders. So she was teased to be playable, but then they curveball us with it being A instead. But Nile's still very important to the story. Why is it? I don't understand that. And then there's Glimmer, who looks to be the child of Pyra or Numa and Rex, and she has a Trinity processor. It might just be for show, the same way it's for show for other characters that have like a flesh eater crystal or something. So
Right.
That still shocks me. Rex, how he
It's a glow up,
bagged
bro.
for-
Chaosaurus Rex, he's the goat. He's the goat. But we're running
I
low on
never
time.
understood.
Go on, Sammy. Sorry.
Actually, no, I shouldn't talk about that.
What we're gonna?
Spoilers or
Okay,
something?
okay, yeah. We're running out of time, so I'm gonna got like maybe 10 minutes left.
Um,
Oh
Yeah.
wait. Hold on. I made a mistake. Venetus, no, you're correct. Ontos is not Klaus. Ontos is Alvis. I mixed up the names. You're right. Alvis is Ontos. Klaus is the father who created the 3 Trinity processors. He's the initial professor. And half of him is sent to the world of Xenoblade 1. The other half of him stays in Xenoblade 2. He's not a Trinity processor. He's not Ontos. I mixed up names. My bad. Thank you for the correction.
yeah, so when I played Xenoblade 1 and 2, I played them like right after one another.
Nice.
So seeing the because my first Xenoblade was 2, and I was actually on the fence about getting that because I didn't know if it was like I had to play 1, but you didn't because they're side by side. But yeah, I played them next to each other, and it was it was cool seeing Klaus in both.
Yeah. Very cool. So High Vibes adds me, what's the coolest thing you can think of building with Ultra Hand Tears of the Kingdom with what you know now?
Coolest thing I can think of.
I got some ideas. I was
Go
thinking
for
about
it.
a like a tank with rams on the front, like spiky rams, and somehow make a missile, like a tank. I was thinking maybe put fans and boulders, but those would only shoot once.
Yeah.
I'm literally going to build a rocket ship. And I don't mean like a little ship. I mean like, you know how like in real life they have those giant rockets with the big, you need like a big like I'm talking about like a tall structure that has platforms and like there's gonna like I'm gonna collect a whole bunch of giant batteries. I'm gonna get several batteries so like we can stay in the air for a really long time. If it's not a rocket ship, I'm going to build a sky city.
A whole city?
I'm building a sky city. That's the plan.
You know what would be really awesome if let's say when you just beat the game or if you 100% the game or something, you could get unlimited battery.
Keep talking. I just want to do one quick thing. Keep talking.
Yeah.
You're unlimited battery.
Yeah, so so like just like a sandbox mode to see what you could do. Just have that when you get all the shrines or something, like how you get Tunic of the Wild, Breath of the Wild.
It'd be interesting. Yeah, once you would like 100% everything. I would like to see.
I mean, the battery
just,
might
like,
already be pretty high. Because
Yeah.
that pertains to the
and
vials,
the ones
right?
we've seen so far seem to drain pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But there's probably ways to upgrade them or just find better batteries in the world. I mean, we're not even really sure if you can only find parts to vehicles. What if you can like craft parts for vehicles?
Yeah, or maybe
We have
there's
no idea.
there's some ways you could lighten the load on battery.
I'll
Like lighter
Different materials. Yeah.
like wood versus metal,
so
or
I don't, like we
or like
still don't.
bamboo.
Yeah, we still don't know like how much interaction we can have. Like, is there a way that we maybe can store animals or monsters or NPCs into our structures? You know, like we do see that scene where we see Link guiding some villagers. Like, is it possible to guide villagers into our own like structure?
Just herd them all. Have our own
Yeah.
little army.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah, Nish, quick. I made a mistake earlier of confusing Alvis and Klaus. Like, I know who each one is. Klaus is the original person, and Alvis is the guy. You know, he's a computer that helps that helps Shulk throughout his adventure in 1, and we see him there. I just jumbled the names.
Yeah. So how did Elvis come about? I didn't really understand when they explained
He's
it.
well in Xenoblade 1.
I
He's explained.
barely
He's explained as basically like a really powerful artificial intelligence, like a computer.
I
And
didn't actually know that.
well, that's also technically what Numa is, and Numa is Pyra and Mithra, and it's also what Malice is. But the thing is,
I did
they're-
not get that either.
they're so advanced that they're people. They're not like robots. They are people, but they were created. If that that's how incredible the technology is. I mean, like Pyra and Mithra have children, so
Right.
you're like they're not like. I think part of it is that with Pyra and Mithra, they were made by a god. Like Klaus became a god.
Yeah.
So that's how that was impacted. And Alvis, I don't know if Alvis was made into. I mean, Alvis appears to have also been kind of human, but he doesn't. I think there's Klaus in Xenoblade 2. I think changed around everyone a bit. The blades. And that didn't happen to Klaus, so I think that's why Klaus is kind of more of like sounds more of like a typical AI, even though he's still can be if like you would still think he's just a really intelligent human. Like
an Alvis again.
Damn, I keep confused. Why? I don't know why I keep doing this. I mean, you could argue that Alvis is the son of Klaus, so you know it's just kind of like, I can't.
So is Alvis the that computer that Klaus was working on when all that stuff took place?
Yes. The
Yeah.
Trinity processor is 3 different pieces. Alvis is part of it. Alvis is the red one. There's a red one, there's a purple one, there's like a green blue one. Alvis is the red one. I don't know why I keep mixing their names up. I don't know. It's late. Yeah.
Story is also just so complicated. I've played through 1. I've seen 2 playthroughs of 1, and I've played through 2, and I like so many things that I just did not get.
It's easy. I feel like it's easier to pay attention when you play it versus watch. I don't know. There's a lot.
Yeah, when I watch stuff, I just kind of,
I've watched and played through both of them though.
I'll only catch certain things if I watch like an analysis on it. So,
Yeah.
sometimes I'm just like not looking that closely.
Yeah.
Oh, I won't even watch analysis. I watch 100% Let's Plays, where they do literally everything in the game and explain all the deep lore and how it's connected. And I still didn't get it.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna
And
close.
Xenoblade lore is crazy.
We're gonna close out in the next 5 minutes here. So I just want to answer some questions. Sammy, if anything comes up, feel free to ask too. But High Vice talks about a cool idea. If it was building a jet with lasers, that would be cool. That's totally possible. Giancarlo hopes he can build a submarine ship for underwater exploration. Dude, what if?
Yes, please.
What if?
I think
With
all of this is
lasers, so you can
possible
fight
because
giant squids.
When vehicle crafting was confirmed in the gameplay, I was just thinking, you could very basic fans, batteries, etc. But in the recent trailer, we see that big rock with like the sword thing, arm thing.
Right.
So I think that opens up the possibility for a ton of stuff.
There's so much.
If, let's say
possibilities.
there's a thing that's like a missile or a cannon or something that
We see him
regenerates.
fuse cannons to shields, so why not use Ultra Hand
Right,
to connect
exactly.
the cannon to your vehicle?
And what if you could fuse anything too, like
Yeah.
with Ultra Hand? Then the possibilities are just endless.
Well, I mean,
Crazy to think about.
you may be able to take Fuse and Ultra Hand, work them together. I definitely see that. I so see that. And
It's so impressive what they've done with like Fuse, and because they have to make icons for every single combination for Fuse.
yeah,
It's
It looks like you can store each
I can
one.
imagine how hard it is to do.
Well, they worked on it for 6 years, so.
Yeah, now I see why.
Yeah.
I was always like, damn, there's like, this is the same Hyrule, Sky Islands, maybe half a Hyrule, but they're just going all in with the gameplay, and we got Underground too. It's gonna be great.
Oh, totally. Venatus.
It's kind of just sitting in that it's 2 weeks away.
It is so close.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah, Venatus added me. Wasn't there another person with the Ontos processor on their chest in the trailer? So talking about Xenoblade 3 here, Ontos being the red Trinity processor, that is another name for Alvis, who was the AI in Xenoblade 1, who is not Klaus, but Klaus being the final boss in Xenoblade 1 and also like the god in Xenoblade 2, being the same person split into different realities. On the Ontos red sort of processor thing we see on Alvis in the Future Redeemed teaser, but we also see that red piece as an earring on A. That's her name, just A. And we also see it on Nile, who is Matthew's sister. Now, we don't see it on her at first, but she kind of goes through some sort of transformation where she has like Monado wings and like a mask on and stuff, and then the red jewel there in the chest. So those are the three that I noticed. So, yeah. Not so. So this is like a computer Triforce. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
That's the easier way of understanding it.
That's kind of right. Yeah.
AI Triforce.
Niche
I want the
Pass.
DLC to have a. Go ahead.
Alvis and A's connection is going to be very cool. I think Alvis is to Mithra as A is to Pyra. Oh, that's a really good idea. There could be. I think you might be onto something there, Nishquick. What were you gonna say, Sam?
So, this is a lot to ask for, but considering it's the conclusion of I know it's a prequel, but it is the conclusion. It's going to tie everything together. I want the last stretch to be as mind-blowing as the last stretch of Xenoblade Chronicles 1. That was crazy. That's probably the best, 10 hours I've ever experienced in a game. It's not the best game I've ever experienced, but that stretch of time was the best.
I do think Xenoblade has one of the best storylines in any game, though. The original, I mean.
Especially when compared to, a lot of other Nintendo stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Each Xenoblade was a roller coaster for me. I think Xenoblade 1 was definitely the most shocking. When I was halfway through the game, I felt like that was going to be the end, and I was like, nope. Every time I thought the game was over, it was not. And I was like, damn, this keeps going. This is amazing. And
the twists were huge. Your priorities for why you were even wanting to continue, kept changing throughout the game.
Yeah. Basically, Xenoblade, the main Xenoblade games are 2 adventures in one in terms of length. And then the DLCs are 1 adventure, if that makes sense. Torna's half of Xenoblade 2 in terms of length, and I bet that's to say we should maybe expect something similar for Future Redeem. It's gonna be half a Xenoblade adventure, which is basically the length of a full RPG. Of course, it depends on what your standard for an RPG is, because there are some long RPGs out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of variance there. Totally. I'm actually really excited about this concept of different things we might be able to put together in Tears of the Kingdom, though. I think we might be scratching the surface here.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that since day one. Since they revealed the Ultra Hand, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Half Donut asks, Andres, do you think Chris Hansen will be a playable character in Tears of the Kingdom? No.
Chris Hansen.
Oh god.
So random.
Is that the voice actor for
Do you not know who Chris Hansen
he's
is?
on Dateline.
Oh.
He catches.
He
I
does
don't want
a
to say
certain
the
show.
word.
Yeah.
He catches certain types of people who prey on certain younger individuals.
To catch a predator.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna be playable. Zelda and Link look young, but they're of age.
Jesus.
They're of age. So
How long do you think has passed in Tears of the Kingdom?
I guess
Since
probably
Breath of the
like
Wild.
2 or 3 years.
Yeah, it might be more than a few months. I'm kind of thinking. At first, I was thinking, it might be kind of like a direct sequel. And it's still going to be a direct sequel, but there might be a period of peace.
I think it's somewhere between 2 and 5 years. There's a rumor that I don't want to believe is true because I read the whole rumor, but it tells like pretty much the whole game. But the rumor says 3 years. I don't.
Was that the one about Nintendo Prime? He covered.
He covered it. I don't think he believes it. I'm not sure. Well, I'm not sure. There's some things that I have a hard time believing someone would know the whole game.
I just
Sort
haven't
of.
been looking into it just in case.
It's the one where they revealed the names of dungeons, right?
The what?
It's the one where they talked about dungeons, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really hope that's not true, and I don't think it's true.
I
They
don't.
got some
I don't
stuff
think it's.
wrong.
I don't think it's true. I think it's just some educated guesses and a lot of
Yeah.
seemingly correct things.
I think around that time, the time that came out, I mean, there's not very many people that were allowed to play the game. I mean, unless Eiji Aonuma leaked it, I doubt highly.
That's right. It's on
But-
FAMA boards. There you go. Yeah, I think the game's somewhere between 2 to 5 years. It's tough to kind of pinpoint because it's like how much older are they, right? Like, and like Riju's tough because she looks older. She looks more like a woman, but not like maybe not a full grown woman though. Like she's got abs now. Like she's more defined. Like she's been working out. It looks like. Tolan is actually. I can see 5 years. Like Riju might be destined to just never be like a tall Gerudo, right? Like she's not a giant, you know what I mean? Like the Gerudos are giants, and she's just not. So it's possible that she was never going to be a giant. She's a small Gerudo. 5 years is I think 5 years is possible. It would make sense because there's a lot of stuff that changes in the world. There's like we see some camps, we see some houses being built. We're seeing signs they change around the castle town already. So there needs to be some time, but of course that could all happen in 2 years. It could happen in 5 years. It's tough, but I think that's the range we're looking at, 2 to 5 years. It's not just a couple weeks we're talking about here. So
There's also a possibility that they don't even mention anything, and we just have to like dig through NPC dialogue to find out.
maybe, actually, yeah.
That's actually the probable. Usually they
I doubt
kind
they'll
of,
say exactly how long it's been.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's tough. Maybe and to both the point of Venetus and Netweed, maybe 2 is too short. Maybe I think 3 to 5 might be a safer bet. I see what you're saying, but it's also kind of like we're just basing this off our perception of how a Rito should grow because we're thinking about how a real person would be. But Ritos might have a different growth range, right? They might have a growth spurt in a year, right? Like the difference between 5 and 6 might be adult maturity. Like we don't know. So, because like for example, in real life, dogs, they reach sexual maturity in less than a year. Which those are dogs. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the Rito are treated more like people though. So I think it is probably fair to think of them as more of a normal age range and probably growth range. But occasionally you'll see in some stories where they're like, oh, this group of people grows faster than others. Like, for example, in Dragon Ball, Saiyans, they look young for a very long time. Like, even at 12, or like 13, they'll still look like they're 8. But then all of a sudden they'll have a growth spurt and they'll look like a grown man by 15 or something. So, like, that's probably just because they were too lazy to change the designs in terms of the timeline. Then they had to come up with an excuse. But, point is stuff like that happens, right? Like, you look at, like, elves in like Lord of the Rings or Inheritance, and they live for hundreds of years, but they look like they're 20 for like 200 years, you know? I mean, heck, look at Link and Zelda. They're technically over 100 years old. I think that because of their status in the 100-year slumber for Breath of the Wild, that they didn't actually age. It was more like they were like in a time stasis of some sort, so it doesn't count for them. So they're probably more like in their early 20s, early to mid 20s, in Tears of the Kingdom. Anyways, point is it's a tough call, but I don't know. Maybe I'll do a little bit more digging. Maybe I'll find some extra proof of their age. That'll be interesting if I can find anything on that. But anyways, Sam, is there anything else you want to cover before I call it a night?
Yeah, probably one more thing. Playable Zelda. You think it's gonna happen, or you think her journey is just gonna be through cutscenes?
I think it's through cutscenes.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like she's with you the whole time. And if there's going to be like a significant reason for you to play as her, it would be weird if there was only limited, right? Because that kind of like defeats the purpose of being able to go anywhere and do anything at any time. So it doesn't really make much sense the way that it seems she's going to be in the story for her to be playable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think they could do it like, well, I hate to mention it, but they could do it like memories, or they could do it at the end of dungeons. Or
conceivably, they could still have segments where she's playable for brief moments after certain major story beats, where you beat a major dungeon or something, and maybe they do like a tier collection quest. It's like a selected area in the past, or so we can just kind of run around as her and collect something. They could do that. I'm gonna err on the side of
there.
Probably not, though, just because I feel like that takes away from the open air style of gameplay. But what were you gonna say?
Right, yeah, like I think if they were to make her playable, it would have to be linear. Like for example, it'd probably have to be like Ashley in Resident Evil 4, where it's just through like, not much exploration, there's barriers or something, and I don't think they would want to do that.
Yeah, it would just kind of mess up the pacing, and I think it would be like a very unneedlessly controversial thing. Like a lot of people I could see definitely not liking that.
It would be like
that doesn't seem like an
Tears of
easy
Light all over again. That level of like, just a gap in the adventure.
Yeah,
doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah,
it would be cool if it was open and like the rest of the game, but the game would take much longer to develop.
Yeah, I do like Venetus's idea, though. Venetus says, I could see her being a companion character in late game like the new champions.
That's probable,
actually. I think that...
definitely
that's
be a
probably
companion character for the final dungeon or something.
I think that's our best bet. Venetus, just going to point this out, because I mentioned earlier in the stream that I might do like a couple like community-suggested like mini topics throughout the week for like moving forward, like as bonus videos. What you just brought up may be featured, so if you're okay with that, that may come up. So, yeah. There's another one that there's a couple that I might try out this week in terms of like little mini Zelda topics. But that's all for now, guys. If you could like the stream, if you're new here, please subscribe. We're aiming to hit 25K by the time Tears of the Kingdom comes out on May 12th. We're close. 17 days away, 2 weeks to go. So, yeah. Cool, Venetus. I'm glad I got the okay. So, I'll give you a little shout out if it happens. But all right, guys. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Bye, guys.
You're ending the